Hey everybody, my name is Dalton from the Steam Machine Podcast, and you are listening to Dane and Jeff's Meaty Dumps. Wait, what? Oh, you are listening to Dane and Jeff's Media Dump. I'll be back in 20 minutes.
Question for y'all. My inquiry, because between Jeff up in Chicago, Dalton down in Florida, me in North Carolina, we got a pretty decent survey of the East Coast here. Sample size of 3, but still. Have y'all been seeing a bunch of dumb fucking gyms popping up everywhere where y'all are at?
No, because all the gyms that I'm surrounded by are all those large corporate ones. Like, have you guys ever heard of Export, LA Fitness, Planet Fitness?
Yeah, I've seen all those, and we've got like a fucking, we used to have a Curves. I think they finally shut it down because they tore the building down and turned it into a trampoline park here. We've got the Anytime Fitness that's open 24 hours a day, the Planet Fitness, shit like that. But we're starting to get really dumb fucking gyms. What about you, Dalton? Have y'all got any dumb gyms down there?
So in my little town, there's one local gym. It's called Genesis. So that one's not too bad. But like, there's a couple in Jacksonville that are odd. Because see, when you first pitched this, like talking about gyms, I was like trying to think of a fake one. But you're talking about real ones. I know that I don't know if they're a chain or what, but they're called Inner Gym. And I'm not sure. I don't know. It just seems weird. Like, I know it's Energy, but Inner Gym. It's like, go here and you will find your inner gym. But the only other one that I can think of that I'm having to look through a list because I can't remember all of the dumb names, but there was another one, Florida Extreme Fitness Center. Like, what kind of a workout are you looking to do where you need to go somewhere called the Extreme Fitness Center?
Spelled with just the X, no E.
No, there's an E. They're not even cool enough to do just an X. It's just Florida Extreme.
Well, it ain't a millennial
Fitness
running it then.
Right? They're not a fan of the Hardy Boys or anything. Team Extreme. But so, what gyms are popping up near you that spawned this? Right. I'm curious now.
Here's the impetus of all this. 15 minutes away from me. Hard Time Fitness.
Hard Time?
Hard Time Fitness.
It's like you get prison workouts in?
A Hard Time Fitness dick in your mouth. But seriously, it is a really dumb name. And I do have a very hard time fitness dick in your mouth. Yeah.
Now, my question is, was this all a big setup for a joke, or is that a real place?
Yeah, it was all an elaborate ruse.
You motherfucker. Well, in that case, the gym that I came up with that would be fake, you son of a bitch, is a place where they take and they fashion all of their weights out of bones and, like, flash frozen pork, right? So, like, you go in there and you have, like, big, giant, like, I guess you could use dinosaur bones, cow bones, or whatever, but they're weighted. So instead of looking like a normal where you would do curls and stuff with it, it's just a bone that you grab and you do that. And then they have the cold room. So you go in there and it's kind of like being in a cold drop, like bathtub, like one of those cold plunges. Mm-hmm. But you're in like basically a meat locker. And they have taken bars and shoved them into the carcasses of pigs, right? Like, most of them are just like their hind ends and everything, but like you take them and you lift with it and everything. So I figured that we could open up this gym and call it Boners and Butts. Because everybody wants to get a sweat on at Boners and Butts.
I love the journey.
Yeah. Dude, I was outside. When you asked that question, I was outside with Lilith for like 45 minutes playing catch with her and stuff, thinking about that the whole time. Like, okay, so what kind of a gym would I have and how would I make it ridiculous? Well, then you could do Jim's Gym, and you're only allowed to go work out there if your name is Jim.
Oh,
or you could
that
go
was the first idea.
You could go the Star Trek route and just be like, "Damn it, Jim."
There you go.
Red shirts.
The name of the gym is called Damn It. It's the Damn It Gym.
And we'll implement your Bones idea.
Yeah, there you go. They're alien bones.
There you go.
And all the people that work there wear a red shirt. See, now we've all combined ideas.
Well, it's better than mine because literally the only thing I'm like, I'm lazy. I'm not going to bother with it. I just came up with D's bell nuts.
I know when Willie was asking me the other night, he's asked me for months to do a vocal cover of The Trickster by Radiohead. So he posted, he's like, Nate, what do you think will come first? Dalton doing that cover for
Radiohead or Machine Head?
You're not Mikolov.
I know,
you look different.
But we gotta let him know that we're always thinking about him.
That's fair. But he said, Nate, which one do you think will happen first? Him do that cover for me or Silk Song comes out? Nate's reply was Grand Theft Auto 7. But so I did it that night, and I sent it to Willie, and I said, Willie, Silk Song D's nuts. And it didn't make sense, but I was proud of it. That was the last D's nuts joke I've made.
Oh, I love how terrible all of our jokes are. It just makes my soul so happy.
Oh yeah, dude. I am like king of just loving a bad joke. I will laugh at any bad joke. I love them.
Oh, my daughter stays absolutely pissed at me because, to me, the peak of humor. Dad, I'm hungry. How hungry I'm Dad.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dad, I'm cold. How cold I'm Dad.
I think the start of my love of jokes like that was my buddy Nick, who I was driving in the car one day and my dad calls me. I'm in the car. It's me, Dustin, Paul, Nick, and Caleb, I think. All riding in my Explorer. My dad calls me. Dude, I'm on my way home from work. And it just occurred to me, Nick is Butters. And I was like, what? He goes, Nick is Butters. Now, if you need Butters from South Park, for those of you who don't know who I'm talking about. And he started, and if you knew Nick, which I'll have to, like, on a different episode, go into, like, how, like, much like Butters it was so fitting and everything. And Nick's just like, man, I'm just happy that your dad is thinking about me. Like, it just makes me so happy. But Nick told me a joke once. He just said, Dalton, what's brown and sticky? And I was like, okay, surely there's some sort of pun in this. I don't know, Nick, what's brown and sticky? He goes, a stick? And I about fucking died. And since then, I have been on a quest to find a dad joke stupider than that. It's like,
and now we know why
hashtag
dad jokes exists as a channel on the Discord.
Yep. Because I love them.
Now, have you ever heard what was voted the best joke?
No.
What was it? Do you like fish sticks?
And this in and of itself is not a bit. This was a real thing. So they had this website where people could submit jokes and people were like voting on what was the funniest one. And the joke that was voted the funniest, I will paraphrase it. It went something along the lines of two guys go hunting and one dude accidentally shoots the other dude when he's aiming for the deer or whatever the hell he was aiming for. So freaks out, calls 911. He's like, quick, you gotta get out here. I just shot my friend. I think he's dead. 911 operator says, all right, calm down, take a breath. First what I need to do, make sure he's dead. Bang! Now what? That was voted the best joke.
It is a good joke. I honestly thought that was going to be a Dick Cheney joke.
Now, Big Dick Brandon's birthday is shot in the face day.
The day that he shot his buddy?
His birthday is the same day that hold on. What's the day?
Not Dick Trickle.
No, I dated a girl named Ashley Trickle.
If I'm remembering right, shot in the face day is the 13th.
Of February?
Yeah.
Man, that guy got to spend Valentine's Day in the hospital. That sucks. This isn't the hole I wanted to be dealing with on Valentine's Day.
But yeah, Brandon used to stay pissed at me because every year on his birthday, instead of wishing him happy birthday, I'd wish him happy shot in the face day. He's like, dude, Obama just got out of office. It's not funny anymore.
It'll always be funny. That's my secret. It's always funny.
But one last bit up before we actually get fully started on the topic of shitty jokes. Also about Big Nick Brandon. He was the king of the your mom joke.
Okay.
Because one, you couldn't get him. Like if you said anything about, your mom or this, your mom that, be like, oh yeah, my mom's a bitch, totally. Oh yeah, my mom's hot. You want to bang my mom? Go for it. I don't care. See those tits? I paid for those tits. Those are my tits. Play with them. It's cool. There's a story there. I won't get into that one.
Yeah. God almighty.
But
I on the oh, go ahead.
But the best one that I ever heard was when he was in the Marines. He sucked in his entire platoon because he walked up to his buddy. I think that dude's name was Nick, actually. He's like, Nick, dude, ow, my stomach is killing me, man. And he starts sucking them in. What's going on? What's wrong? I think I got an ulcer. I think it's all this spicy and acidic food I've been eating. Like what? What you been doing? He's like, man, and I went to Taco Bell and I got the extra jalapeno stuff on there. I ate a bunch of hot wings last night for supper. Your mom's vagina. I mean, and Nick's like, oh, you son of a bitch. I was feeling bad for you for a minute. No, but seriously, though, I do think I have an ulcer. Oh, really? You do? Yeah, from eating your mom's rank-ass pussy.
Jesus Christ.
It's like, Brandon, you motherfucker.
Double down on your mom's pussy.
On the opposite, I had a buddy of mine. You made a mom joke to him, he would fight you. And I knew that. And he pissed me off one day, and I made a mom joke, and he karate chopped me in the throat. Now, I'm sitting on the way that the gym locker room was. We were back by the showers, and there was like a bench and then like a hallway of just, shit. My brain just blanked. Where the toilet would normally be, and there's the separators. Dude, help me out here. My brain is...
Stalls?
I am shitting my... Stall! Thank you. Jesus fucking Christ, bro. Holy shit. I couldn't think of the word stalls. What was wrong? That's why they call it dope, kids. So they was just lined with stalls that had showers in them. So it was just this long thing. And we're sitting there and he's yelling at me and I'm yelling at him. And I just basically said like, fuck your mama or something like that. He karate chops me in the throat. So I'm about 415 pounds at this time. All right. I, in one motion, stood up, threw an uppercut, and hit him just square under the jaw. And when I tell you that he went up and back and slid down the whole hallway, it was straight out of a movie, and I wish someone had caught it on film. But
if only you had had a table behind him with perhaps a bowl of punch.
Yes! Right through it.
The uppercutting
or like
of
somebody
walks.
Somebody just come walking by with a fruit cart randomly, and I hit him through it.
Drop a wedding cake.
Yeah. Pane of glass coming through.
Two guys carrying the mirror for the inappropriately timed mirror moving company.
Exactly. So many moments that could have made it just peak. But yeah, I just vividly remember that like anyone made a mama joke to him, he was ready to fight. And I was like, bro, your mom's a really nice lady. Like, I'm sure she could take a joke. Like, calm down.
No, when I was in high school in band, I think this was my junior year, one of the freshmen who I was like the oldest of the saxophone players. So they all had to listen to me for some reason, which is always a bad situation. Anytime you've got a group of people who have to listen to me. Hi, listeners. And I pissed him off, and he made some kind of your mom joke at me, and I said, dude, that's not funny. My mom's dead. And he shut up, and he, like, you could tell that this just kind of crushed him. And again, bringing Big Dick Brandon back into it. The next day, this dude's still feeling bad about making a your mom joke against me, and he's talking to Brandon about it because he knows me and him are buddies. He's like, man, I feel so shitty. Why? I made a your mom joke at Dane yesterday. So? Dude, his mom's dead. He's like, I was just over at his house this weekend. She was fine. So now Cole's like, motherfucker.
You motherfucker.
So fast forward to later that day in band. As usual, me and a couple of others are in the back of the room playing cards because we spent the first half hour of the class playing cards and dicking off without actually doing anything. So we just had an early start. We're back there playing cards, and all of a sudden somebody way bigger than me throws me in a chokehold and picks my skinny white ass up. I don't think to ask who this is or what's going on. I just pop them in the beanbag and I throw them into the closet that's on the other side of me. I'm choking. I'm like, dude, what's your fucking problem? He's like, your mom ain't dead. I'm like, I know that. He's like, you told me she was. I'm like, oh yeah.
Now, have you ever actually made a mama joke to somebody whose mom was actually dead?
Yes.
No.
Because I have, and that's a fucking terrible feeling.
It was my brother-in-law.
Oh, mine was just a friend. That's even worse.
Well, he wasn't at my time.
Oh, fair. That's fair. Yeah. We were just, me and Shelby at school, sitting on the couch, and she said something to me, and I just went, your mama, blah, 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 blah. And she just goes, my mom's dead, Dalton. And I'm like, oh, fuck, I knew that. Oh, God, I'm so sorry. Fuck.
Well, she was alive. She would have thought that was a sick burn. And on that note, welcome to Dane and Jeff's Media Dump. I'm your host, Mr. L. Dane Puzzles, Esquire. Mr. L. Dane Puzzles. You know, I say this every damn week, and it's starting to just sound like nonsense to me. I'll be honest. Mr. L. Dane Puzzles. Why the fuck did I pick that as my name, Jeff?
I don't know. Because you're the Dane Puzzles.
Mr. Puzzles for short, Dane for shorter. And as you just heard, the man, the myth, the legend, he slices, he dices, stays crunchy even in milk. Mr. Grumpy Jeff. Jeff, how you doing?
God damn it.
I've been drinking.
So I'm a little crusty. What's the problem with that? I'm old.
Hey, kids.
As long as it stays above your dick, you're good, dude. And as you've been hearing, we have with us tonight a special guest host. He's the man with the plan, the music man, the steam machine. Steam machine Dalton. Dalton, it's good to have you with us, dude. This is going to be a fun night.
I'm glad to be here. It is going to be a fun night. I am going to use that stays crunchy even in milk. Like, that is good. That's
is that going to be an addition, another nickname?
Motherfucker, your name is already hard enough for me to say.
Because you keep throwing stuff in there.
Also, Jeff's a duck.
God damn it.
Also, Jeff's a duck. I had to explain that to Mikolov the other day, and once I explained it to him, he made that also he's a duck emote. And I was like, yes! Or no, I'm sorry. I take that back. He made the emote and then asked, can I ask why Jeff's a duck? And I was like, it's literally from a stinger when Jeff just went, Howard the duck. And like, that's it. That's all. And my brain just ran with that for some reason.
Yeah, you made that emote, or what was it, you or him that made that emote in addition to Jeff Sucks?
No, I made Jeff Sucks. He's the one that made also he's a duck. Because like I sent the Jeff Sucks, and then about 5 minutes later he sends also he's a duck. And I was like, oh, that's great.
All of a sudden I just see Jeff Sucks, also he's a duck. I'm just like, all right, fair enough.
Yeah, I hate to see what happens if y'all ever start making emotes on me.
I will have a Mr. Puzzles emote sometime. I don't know what it'll look like. Like, I picture Mr. Puzzles in my head the same way that I picture Mr. Wondertainment from the SCP universe lore, where it's like, you're not necessarily evil, but you don't particularly care what you do comes off evil or not. You just are there for the entertainment of it.
See, it's weird you say that, because every time any of my friends, back when on Facebook, people would do like the D&D alignment chart, and they would stick their friends who fit the, on the good to evil, lawful to chaotic spectrum. Every damn one of my friends always stuck me in as the true neutral.
That's fair. I could see that.
And the only time that I never landed in the true neutral was when somebody posted the monitor alignment thing, and I definitely landed in chaotic evil for my monitor setup.
Oh, man. Yeah, my monitor setup right now, I don't know what I would be. I only use 2 of them, so that would probably even knock me further into some sort of evil category. But that would be fun to do one day. Like, take everybody who's a normal mainstay in the Discord and see who's what. Like, not that we have to do it now, but like, for instance, Nate, I think Nate would be just straight up like chaotic neutral. Willie's probably chaotic good. Maybe also, no, yeah, that's a chaotic good. I mean, maybe him and Nate both are probably chaotic good. I think I'm chaotic neutral. Where would you put yourselves?
I think at this point, with some of the campaigns that I've run, like the Duke Nukem thing, I'm probably in the neutral evil at this point. Because when you say don't do this, I do follow it. But when you say you can do it, I run with it in totally different directions than what you're expecting.
I'm trying to think, just based on some of the RPGs I play, like Mass Effect, for example. I'm always on the good side, but I do have some evil tendencies, so I guess I would be like lawful evil or something like that.
What's funny you mentioned that, dude. When I recently played through Pathfinder Kingmaker, not Kingmaker, the sequel, Wrath of the Righteous. the two characters that I ended up like having the most respect for and like the way that they handled things, one of them was chaotic evil, the other one was lawful evil. I played chaotic neutral throughout the whole thing basically, but lawful evil guy made a lot of points because he was only evil because he's like, if someone is slacking, kill them. You know, if someone is taking away from this, like, why are you trusting this person? They did you wrong. You should just kill them and move on. But he was also very by the rules of the code of the Dread Knights that he was in, yada, yada, yada. It was also the game that I realized that there are two different versions of like an evil, I'll call it quote unquote afterlife, what we consider an afterlife. Hell is lawful evil. There are rules in hell. Mm-hmm. You don't go to hell in Wrath of the Righteous. You have to go to the abyss. And the abyss is chaotic evil. That's where all the demons and the succubi and the rampant rape and raunchery goes on down there.
Succumb by.
Yes. And there are also incubi down there as well. If that's your thing.
I don't know why, but Succumbi sounds like a Lion King character.
I was thinking the same. Succumbi. It's like Rafiki's cousin, Succumbi.
So full of love, he can't help but get a little bit on you. Usually on your leg.
He gives it a whole different kind of Simba. Have either? Probably not. But being that both of you are married and probably want to stay that way, either of you ever hit the Simba before? You're banging your girl, you pull out, you do your thing on her belly, you dip your thumb in it, and you go across her forehead and go, Simba.
Somehow, I think that would earn me a kick in the nads.
I was going to say, Jeff would be on the couch for a week, but
now,
it'd be a funny story.
My buddy, who might eventually listen to this one day, so if you hear this, know I'm thinking about you. His nickname in high school was Dirty. And, that was his catchphrase, call me Dirty. To the point that was like his wrestling persona because he did indie wrestling around here for a while. Great fucking heel. But his whole shtick, the reason they called him Dirty was he came up with the Dirty Houdini, which is where doing from behind, hock a loogie on their back so they think you're done, and when they turn around, bam!
Ah, yes.
And then you gotta yell, never saw me coming.
That'll come up later in my song pick.
But that dude, he was one of the hairiest motherfuckers you ever met in your life. You know how Robin Williams was just like a woolly mammoth underneath his shirt?
Oh, my buddy Jordan growing up was the same way, yeah.
Wes's freshman year, he had a shag rug on his chest to the point that Jeff, same way. All my hair is like...
I'm still very much like Austin Powers.
Well, my chest hair is like in a patch in the shape of roughly South America.
I'm showing them my chest. I have none. Absolutely none. Yeah, Jeff has hair on his chest like I do on my head. I got nothing.
You can't see it, but yeah. I got a South America
Dane,
patch.
you got more than I do too.
I got a South America patch right between the man boobs. And the day that I saw just how damn hairy he was, we had this 2-week period in high school where every other day they were trying to get out of tests. Some kid kept like leaving bomb threats everywhere, so they had to take it serious. So they ferried us all out to the bleachers by the track. Well, they brought the dogs in again to sniff out a fucking bomb that we all knew didn't exist. But this one girl who was, big hoochie had just went and got her first tattoo because she turned 18. And it was a 4-leaf clover right under her belt line. And she was showing it off, pulling down her jeans like, hey, look at my tattoo, showing it off. Trying to act all hoochiness and get guys hot and bothered, make the girls jealous. And Wes goes, that ain't shit, look at this. And he unbuttons his shirt and he just opens up and you could see fucking bare. And she's like, where's your tattoo? He's like, tattoo? I thought we were showing off how hairy we were.
I'll be back. Keep talking.
Oh, that's tremendous. Dude, so my buddy Jordan back in school, the way he was hairy, I just had some nair and was like, bro, you should let me nair something into your chest. And he was like, yeah, okay. So my dumbass did a big S and a big E and ran out of room on his chest, so I did the X in his belly hair. And then we waited and we washed it off, so it just said sex. And we go into school the next day, and me and him had psychology class together. So we go into psychology class, and Miss Trabert, he just goes up to, I'm already in there. Jordan comes walking in, he looks at me, and he winks. And he goes, hey, Miss Trabert, you want to see something cool? And just rips his shirt. And she goes, that's very nice, Jordan. Now could you please put your shirt down? That was like, I got kicked out of that classroom once for saying the F word, not fuck. I said the other one. I was in a very bad mood, and this person pissed me off.
Fudge.
Yes, I said fudge. And I called this person a fudge. And not that they even... This goes back to that Louis C.K. bit where it's like, I'm not calling you that because you're gay. I could care less if you're gay or not. But we're not going to get into that. But I threw the word out. And Miss Trabert... Yeah, exactly. And Miss Trabert got pissed off because she is a homosexual woman. Understandably, she got mad and kicked me out of the room. So I threw my books off my desk, and I went storming out of the room. And as I'm about to walk out the door, I hear Jordan say, at least he didn't say retard. And I hear, Jordan, out the back door. So he got kicked out too. And I'm like, man. So, and that's another word that I don't use anymore, but it's just like the hilarity that like, if one of us got in trouble in that class, usually it was me because I had a foul mouth. He would always like try to stand up for me and then get kicked out too. Yeah.
Well,
school.
Well, the thing about the word retard, if you were a child in the 90s, you get 3 a year. Okay?
Fair.
So keep under that quota, you're fine. Internet police can't say shit. And explaining the rule doesn't count, so I still have 2 for the year.
I was gonna say I still have 2. Oh my goodness!
I just throw out the Lithuanian Europeans slang. That usually keeps it under the radar.
By slang, he means slurs.
I think I said slur eventually. I went slang, slur.
There's an anime that the whole premise is that this girl has a crush on this boy, but she doesn't want him to know, so she talks about it in Russian, and she doesn't know that he also speaks Russian. So it's like he knows everything she's saying, but pretends not to. And Jeff might find himself in a situation like that one day, and that will just be chef's kiss to me. It'd be really funny.
Oh, I don't... Sorry, my cats are going berserk right now. I don't work at Jewel anymore, so I don't give a damn if I come across a random person. I will say it is fun. I'm walking out in public, and I hear people talking. I can detect whether what nationality they are. I've gotten enough practice where it's just like Polish, Lithuanian, Russian, cunt. There's my one.
I was sitting here thinking Polish. He didn't say Polak. Good job, Jeff.
No.
Dude, again, going back to my high school, I had a teacher that as soon as he found out that I was also Polish, or that I had Polish blood in me, he's like, oh, a fellow Polak. And every day he would tell me a Polish joke. And he'd be like, we got to laugh at it. We got to stick together. And I'm thinking to myself, like, man, I'm like maybe a quarter Polish. Like,
Jeff's got cats watching him from everywhere.
Well, you see Tom. That's the bright white cat.
The fluffy boy.
If you could see the occasional glow in dark. There's Puke. If you could see.
Yeah, see the eye glow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then.
Oh, kitties.
And then you have Magira, who's like. Oh, she's over my other shoulder.
Well, between Jeff, his wife, and his cats, that's just a house full of pussies.
Huzzah!
I love how you included Jeff in that count.
Yeah.
Just slid it right in.
Well, I'm certainly as hairy as a pussy.
This is true. You are a hairy man.
Now you need to get like a landing strip waxed out on your chest.
No.
Yeah.
Do you know how...
You should get your...
That would be so painful.
No, what you do is you get your wife to shave your chest to where it says DJ, and then under it says MD, and then you just get an up-close picture, but that's all you can see. And that should be y'all's cover.
If you do that, I will make that the new album art. I'd do it in my pubes, but like I tried to do a heart one time, and it turned into a liver. And then like 2 kidneys, and then Okay, now we just look like a shrimp down there because it's cold. So
I was in the pool. Oh man, it's good to be here with you boys, man. It's been a long week, so it's good to.
It's been a long Monday.
podcast therapy.
Podcast therapy, that's for sure. That is for sure.
So I know a whole lot hadn't happened because we recorded just last week. Jeff, you got anything special that's happened that you want to cover before we actually get into the episode proper?
Yes, I do. I am going to call out Ian and from Tadpog, Tyler and Dave Play Old Games. The Ian is silent. He, for, 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, he talked about how flossing and proper cleaning your teeth is very important. Well, I had a dentist appointment last Thursday. Thankfully, I had no cavities, but I hadn't gone to the dentist in over a year. Man, dealing with the dentist scraping the plaque out of your teeth for an hour is the most painful thing ever.
Yeah. It sucks, bro.
Yeah, it is no fun. And where I've got hereditarily bad teeth myself, I've got a lot of feelings, so they're always catching on shit.
Yeah.
I fucking hate it.
Yeah, I also have hereditarily bad teeth, so I feel you, dog.
But thankfully, I was shocked that I didn't have any cavities. But it's just like, for a whole hour, the doctor is just like really like scratching. She's like really just like trying to
make weak spots in there so they can get some fucking money out of you next time.
Well, hopefully, next in 6 months it's going to be much easier for them to clean. But I will say it does help. It's like, okay, so you get to watch the Home Shopping Network or HGTV. So it's like, well, hold on a minute. If you're reclined in your chair, how are you supposed to be watching TV? TV on the ceiling.
Beautiful. My dentist is a wildlife photographer. And he takes some amazing photos, and that's what you watch when you're there. Like, there's some music playing and stuff, but it's like these screens that just play pictures, like just an album plays through or whatever of all the shots that he's taken. He's gotten some incredible shots before. But not even talking about dental problems, bro. Not even 2 weeks ago, or it might be 2 weeks by now. When Diana was here, I had a box of Mike and Ike Mega Mix, and I'm like, I love Mike and Ike's, dude. Like, Megan turned me on to sour Mike and Ike's, and then I started exploring other Mike and Ike's, and dude, those are for me. Those are so good. I love fruity candy.
Yeah, that's the candy I always sneak into the movies.
Before you continue, I have to ask, Mike and Ike's or Dots?
Mike and Ike's.
Ooh, Mike and Ike's.
I don't know.
I haven't had Dots in years.
I love Dots, but I also love Mike and Ike. I think it's berry. The berry mix.
Oh, the berry ones are so good, dude. The berry mix is delicious.
You know what?
All right, go ahead.
I'm plain. Give me the original. But go on.
Continue with your story. I'm gonna ponder this for a moment.
So I took like 5 or 6 in my hand, tossed them in my mouth, and I'm chewing on them. And all of a sudden, I bite into something hard, and I'm like, oh, maybe I got one that sometimes you get a Mike and Ike that's like hard sugar or something that just got lumped in there. So I pull it out of my mouth and I throw it into my ashtray, not thinking about it. And I chew them up and I swallow them, and I'm sitting there and I'm gaming. And about 10 minutes goes by. I just happen to run my tongue around my teeth, and my back right molar up at the top is missing half of it. Ooh. And I'm like, so I dug in my ashtray and found what I thought was a piece of hard sugar. No, that was my tooth. I don't know what it was, if it was already broken and just staying in there by the skin of my gum. But just chewing some soft Mike and Ike's just enough to just pull it out. Here's the crazy thing. It doesn't hurt. So I know I've had root canals on different teeth back there and had fillings put in and stuff like that. So I'm wondering if that's one of the teeth that I had one of those on and they deadened the nerves, because there's half a tooth gone, but I don't feel shit. There was a hole in my gum where that tooth used to be connected, and it's healing up, and it's like it doesn't hurt.
Yeah, if it's not hurting, odds are that's one that you had a root canal on. You might want to get them to look at that, because they'll either have they'll have to pull it if it goes too long, but you'll probably end up having to get a porcelain cap on that fucker.
Yeah, well, I got a gold tooth down here, so I might just get another one, match the sides.
Well, I got
here, porcelain.
I got a crown like right here. That one from that was weird. So this was probably It's been about 10 years now. Well, no, maybe about 5 years. After a heavy night of drinking, and can't understand it. I woke up the next morning. My mouth was in agony. I'm like, what the fuck? Why? And I just ran my tongue over the tooth, and something felt weird. It's just like, hold on. I went to the bathroom. I looked in the mirror. My tooth broke in the night.
Ooh, yeah, it might have been grinding your teeth or something.
It's possible, but it's just like, well, how weakened was the tooth? Either way, and because I was an idiot, I'm like, maybe if I get some Oragel or, I'm trying to find ways of staying out of the dentist. But unfortunately, after, I think it would probably be about 6 months, I used that. But after 6 months of dealing with a broken tooth, and what was horrible, probably the most annoying thing about it was trying to eat, and all the food would actually go through the hole in my tooth and get stuck inside. But yeah,
that happens to me with this.
Yeah.
You got to swish some water around.
I did that, and I also, I think, took like something like a paper clip and dug the food out of that tooth.
I did shit like that whenever my damn wisdom teeth were coming in and were breaking off my back molars on the bottom.
But yeah, after 6 months of dealing with that, it's just like, I need to take care of this. So yeah, the doctor is just like, yeah, you have a serious infection in that tooth. You need a root canal, and then we're going to crown it.
I'll probably end up losing this front tooth on the bottom. So my teeth, the way they are, like most of them are straight. So I had braces on the top, but I never got them on the bottom. But my teeth are mostly straight, but I have one tooth right here that sticks out, and my other two teeth are a little behind it, so there's like a space there. And that tooth is always super discolored on the back compared to the rest of my teeth, and I don't know why. I mean, I'm sure dip doesn't help. Don't get me wrong. It's one of the reasons I'm going to try to quit dipping this year, because my teeth are bad enough as it is. But that tooth in particular, like, I can take like something hard and metal, like I have little metal point things, and I can scrape at it and scrape some of that shit off. And it's like after they get done cleaning it, it's like I can feel on the back of my, where your tooth kind of just goes up like that. When they get done cleaning it, it's more like a fucking skateboard ramp because of the buildup that gets there. And there's literally, I've tried, there's nothing I can do to avoid that happening. I hate it. It drives me crazy. I hate my teeth. Thank you, Dad, for giving me genetically bad teeth. But he also gave me genetically decent guitar skills, so I'll take it.
For a second, I thought you were going to say a genetically big dick, but yeah.
No, he tells me all the time. I don't know where you got that from.
But the moral by
whenever a joke is made.
But the moral by
as opposed to my
is,
dad, who's like, I don't know why you didn't get anything from me.
The moral of my story, though, is floss.
Yeah,
floss
clean
your
your teeth.
goddamn teeth.
You know what made flossing easier for me? I started buying those little Denta floss sticks that have the toothpick on one end and everything, and those are way easier to do than wrapping that shit around your finger and reaching in your mouth, and they're way better.
If your teeth aren't bleeding, you're doing it wrong.
Oh man, I brush my teeth really well.
But yeah,
So that's how you know when you're done wiping. When you see the blood, you know to quit.
Listen, let's not even go there. I have issues with in that area that drive me crazy, and literally I don't know what the fuck you can do about it. So it's just part of growing old, I think.
But
I got stomach issues from my mom, and bowel issues, and back problems, and teeth problems from my dad.
Get a bidet.
I have a bidet. I bought one recently.
I need to
It's
invest in one
up and
because
hooked up.
I'm tired of wiping my ass with sandpaper.
Well, I'll tell you, I still wipe my butt for the first couple, and then I use the bidet, just because I don't completely 100% trust just the bidet yet. But I can send you the link, the one that I got, because it's just one that you attach to your toilet.
Well, what I do right now, when I'm at home, is like, okay, that was a messy. I do the same as you, do a couple, and then I just stick my ass under the bathtub. It just
Yeah, there you go.
Just like, hot water. Or sometimes like, the wife is sleeping, I don't want to wake her up. Cold water, which actually helps, especially it's like, man, that was a really spicy dinner, and that was a really spicy shit. That cold water is so refreshing.
I need someone. Now, I never want to see this picture again, but I need someone to superimpose Jeff's face onto Tub Girl.
I don't know what that is.
Oh!
Well, considering the
Google it
mental
real quick,
image
Jeff.
I had when you described this, all I could think of was Jeff with his legs thrown back behind his head and his ass up under the water faucet.
Yeah, exactly. Except the water faucet is a fountain.
I can't do that anymore. I'm too old. I used to be able to.
Jeff in college, just letting the water run on his butthole while he blows himself.
I didn't go to college.
Oh, yeah. Oh, fair enough. Me neither.
I went for all the damn good it did.
But yeah, so the dentist is the only thing I've done apart from reliving my childhood. I mean, I just recently bought you knew I had Jazz Jackrabbit, Dalton, on GOG. I just recently bought Tyrion for free. And
Oh yeah, that's one of the games they offer for free on GOG.
And it's like, oh my god, I had both the shareware versions on my Windows 95, and just playing those games again, it's like, childhood.
Yeah, I was on. It was last year before the reset happened. I was on GOG. I think it was sometime in December, and I snagged the Jazz Jackrabbit collections, the Jazz Jackrabbit 1 collection and the Jazz Jackrabbit 2 collection. Because I remember you had mentioned that you really liked those games. So I was like, I'll check them out and see what's up.
I never played 2, but I love the first one.
2 came with like a normal game and then like a Christmas version of it. And I was like, I haven't played them yet, but I have them in the library.
But to get back on track, Dane, what's been up with you?
My dog's a dick.
Welcome to the world of owning a dog. It's like, man, I love you. You are such an asshole sometimes.
So, yesterday, I get up, I go and take my regular big steaming deuce first thing in the morning. And the thing that's out of the ordinary, I'm the first one up. Usually my wife's up like anywhere from 1 to 4 hours before I drag my ass out of bed. But she's actually sleeping in for a change this morning. So I get up, run to the bathroom. When I come back out, the dog's standing at the door whining. I'm like, all right, fine, fucker, go on out. And we've got big-ass yard. I cleared out about an acre of field when we moved here and turned it into a big-ass yard so that my daughter would have room to run around and play. And now Rocky gets to reap the same benefits. I open the door. He shoots out the door, runs down the steps, and then he freezes and comes to attention. I'm like, what? And I look where he's looking, and then about half a football field down out at the edge of the woods are 4 deer, all staring right back at him. I make it as far as, Rocky, don't. Halfway through the word don't, one of the deers breaks, and they all run. And this dog takes off like a bat out of hell at full fucking speed. And I didn't realize just how fast this motherfucker was.
Dude.
Because before they're all the way into the woods, they started at the edge. He's already at their heels. Motherfucker's gone for an hour. Oh. This becomes a problem because 30 minutes into his little escapade, my daughter gets up. Hey, Dad, is Rocky outside? Yeah, somewhere. What? He went running deer. He ain't come back in. So now my daughter is in full-blown panic mode because what if he never comes home? Right on her heels, my wife gets up. Tell her what happened. So now I look like the dumbass because he hasn't run off on anybody else. He ran off on my watch. Well, a little less than an hour later, he finally comes trotting back, looking all proud of himself and shit. And we're like, get your ass in the house. We put him in timeout, which is, he gets to sit in the kennel and think about what he's done. And he was on best behavior after that. And I thought we'd come to an understanding. And then this morning, I'm getting the trash up and he needs to go pee. My wife's off, her and my mom went to the gym. And I'm like, all right, you go pee. I want to haul off the trash. I let him out one door, grab the trash, go out the back. And as I'm putting it in the trash can, my wife comes home. She says, hey, comes on in. I walk in. I walk out to the other door to holler at him from the yard. He's nowhere to be seen. I'm like, you son of a bitch. First time my wife forgave me. This time she's like, Dane, you have got to stop letting him out and not standing there and watching his ass. He knows he can get away from you now. So, yeah, my dog's an asshole and makes me look like the irresponsible one. Yeah, he makes me look like a dumbass, but he's an asshole.
No, I guess I'm assuming that the acre that you cleared, there's no fence.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you go far enough, there's going to be remnants of the old ones from when my grandpa actually had a working farm and kept cattle and shit. But yeah, around my land, there's no fence. We're about a quarter mile from the main road, and the direction he runs is always away from the road down towards, you got about a quarter mile down the hill, we got a big-ass creek that runs through everything. And then we have some land that's up on the other side that's another, 15 acres over there. So he has to go a long way before he gets off of our land.
Yeah.
But he's a little pansy and doesn't like water, so I know if he hits the creek, he's not going to get in it.
I was just about to say, dude, I said he's probably just having the time of his life. He hits the creek. It's like, I don't feel like getting wet. Has a drink. Comes home.
Probably what he's doing. But, whatever. He went off this time. I was getting ready to go to work. Daughter's freaking out. She wants to go out and search the woods for him. I'm like, honey, you're not going to find him in the woods. For one thing, your legs are way too short for this.
Yeah, it's. I admire her dedication, but as far as covering ground, not exactly a child's strong suit.
He's part shepherd, and he's a fast motherfucker. He took
Bro, let me
off.
tell you, when Lily goes after squirrels, or when she's really wanting to play, and I kick that ball far. Oh, excuse me, kick that ball far, dude. She kicks it into a gear that I didn't realize some dogs have. She has to hit 15, 20 miles an hour, just hauling that. Well, maybe not, because I know cheetahs. Well,
cheetahs are 75.
Yeah, never mind. Yeah, 15, 20 miles an hour. She is hauling ass.
I think, doesn't the human speed cap out? The fastest people are 15, 16 miles per hour?
Keep talking. I'll look it up.
I don't know. I can tell you, Braun Breaker, the wrestler, they clocked him running the ropes, and they clocked him at 23 miles an hour. Just the pure ferocity. It's like in the Royal Rumble when he speared ISO Speed. Yeah. Tremendous.
Usain Bolt.
Dude was fucking hauling ass.
One of the fastest Olympic sprinters has a top speed of about 28 miles an hour.
Oh, wow. Maybe I'm just thinking human average instead of human top.
Yeah. Yeah, you say you're talking about averages, and me and Dane start talking about elite athletes. Oh, yeah, they're running at this. I'm going to tell you, I probably run at about 8 miles an hour.
I don't run.
I used to run. Then I took an arrow to
sprint.
the knee.
Last time I tried to run, a dog got between my legs, tripped me, and I broke my face and had to set my own broken nose. I don't run no more.
I feel that, dog.
Yeah, everyone at the urgent care thought I was a badass when they found out I set my own damn nose. They're like, you did a really good job.
Pop that motherfucker back straight.
Well, the trick is, put your hand where your nose used to be, and then use the other one to push it back.
And then do not blow your nose.
Oh, you don't need to, because it's all going to pour out.
Well, there's a thing where if you break your nose or whatever, and it's it's still not swelling, if you blow your nose, it will just and blow up and swell like a motherfucker. I don't know why.
Well, they pretty much told me that if I hadn't said it myself, they would have let it heal crooked and then sent me off for rhinoplasty. They said that they don't set broken noses at the doctor no more. Ain't that some shit?
Why?
Because they can get more money out of you by sending you off to a plastic surgeon.
That's fucking stupid.
America.
And you end up with a Michael Jackson nose that falls off like in South Park.
Or Owen Wilson.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Have you ever seen the clip where someone took, I think it's Bulls on Parade, and they edited it where, so instead of the guitar going down, wow, waka, wow, wow, waka, waka, it's wow, wow, waka, wow, wow, waka, 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 wow, wow, waka, wow, wow. It works so well.
People have too much free time.
They really, dude, I'm telling you, I hear some of these mashups like DJ Cumberbund. He's so good at mashups, and I'm like, how did you think of this? But in that same vein, though, I'm listening to Bloody Pleasures by, I can't remember the name of the band, but I think Blood Angel, so a Blood Angel, but the song is called Bloody Pleasures. And in my head, I'm listening to the beat, and the only thing playing in my head is Lady Sovereign. Do y'all remember her? Love me or hate me, still an obsession. Love me or hate me, that is the question. If you love me, then oh, thank you. If you hate me, then well, fuck you. It was her big single that popped off over here. It plays so well over that beat that I had to make that mashup. So I'm wondering if that's just how it happens. These dudes just hear something, and then something else just won't get out of their head, and they're like, I have to make this work.
I think they probably all get started by trying to find a song that doesn't work when paired up with either the Fresh Prince theme song or Guile's theme.
I have heard of Guile's theme a lot. Where it's like, Guile's theme goes with everything. I love it.
Well, hey, now that we're on a musical subject, are we going to transition, or do you have anything else you want to talk about, Dalton?
Well, there was one thing that I wanted to talk about, because I don't know the next time that Jeff will pop into Steam Machine podcast. Have you gotten a chance to try out the new No Man's Sky update yet?
I have not. I have been for the past couple months. I've been playing Elite Dangerous, which is, I guess you could say, in quotations, the more scientific version of No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
Like if you compare the two, I say No Man's Sky is more fantasy science, and Elite Dangerous treats itself more science fiction.
A little more simulation-esque.
Yes.
Yeah. I got Elite Dangerous, and I think I picked up the Odyssey DLC, I think that's what it's called, where you can go on planets. So I've been meaning to check it out, because you know me. Any game that can give me something that's remotely like No Man's Sky, I'm at least give it a try.
You can go on planets. You can walk around space stations. They've actually created walkable concourses. You can purchase freighters or capital ships. Just like No Man's Sky. Yeah, it's just one is the bright, colorful game that we know and love, and the other one has a very 2001: A Space Odyssey vibe to it.
Yeah. Well, dude, let me tell you that new update is pretty fire. I've visited a few of the new purple star systems, and there's some really interesting planets. Like, I haven't come across a super giant planet yet, though. Like, but I'm looking forward to that when I just pull into a space area, galaxy, I guess I would, and just being like, and there's just this one massive planet. I have found a couple planets that are all ocean.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see any islands anywhere I flew. Those are really cool to go underwater, because they've redone everything underwater. So you can go super deep, where literally the only thing that you can see is what your light is pointing at. And let me tell you, it gets a little fucking creepy down there, bro. Thalassophobia kick in just a little bit.
But
just a little bit.
Fine, because your character can actually withstand some damage, whereas Subnautica, I think it treats itself. It's like, hey, guess what? You're come across a Leviathan. It will kill you in one gulp.
Well, I think you're perfectly safe. It's not like you're, piloting at a ship underwater using just a video game controller.
I mean, technically you are. It's just not Logitech.
There are some really big creatures that they've added in down there, though. And I've recently figured out how to fabricate a ship, so I built my own ship. That was fun. Because you know me, I'm just fooling around in creative mode. But the updates to the graphics engine that they've done, where they've backported things from what they were going to have in Light No Fire, like the way the water works now, the water accurately reflects everything. Yeah. So like stars and planets and stuff reflects off the water. It's super cool, dude. I'll give it a hearty pip. I was just curious if you had played it yet.
I have not. I heard, though, that I'm sure they fixed it by now, but like when it first launched, I guess people were saying for the PS5 version that they were getting black screens and the game would crash.
Oh, I was dealing with that when it first came out. Anytime I tried to load into a game, any of my loads, it would go to load the planet and crash. And what caused it was an issue with DLSS. So I went and turned DLSS off, and it loaded in fine. Mm-hmm. But literally, like 2 or 3 days later, they released a patch that fixed that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, everyone's
they're so good about patches.
Everyone's complaining on the internet. It's just like, guys, it's just Hello Games. You've seen what they've been doing since 2016. Give it a day or two.
Yeah, they'll solve it, and they did.
I still look forward to the day where it's just like, hey, this entire planet's in cities or whatever. Start giving this world or this galaxy a sense of like it's being lived in, which is one thing I think Elite Dangerous does well compared to No Man's Sky.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to install that when we're done here, and I'll give that a try. And the other thing I wanted to talk about is with you, Dane, because I know you were helping me out with this in the background. So, after doing a lot of digging, and I think I sent you the link that I had came across, I installed every game that I have that is super highly, like graphics wise, just does a strain. Doom Eternal, I'm granted this is an older game, but Doom Eternal with ray tracing ran buttery. I never had a frame drop the entire time.
Yeah.
Right? I installed Hogwarts Legacy, runs fucking beautiful. I installed Assassin's Creed Valhalla, runs beautiful. Final Fantasy 15 runs beautiful. Metro Exodus, which has required ray tracing, the reboot of Metro Exodus, ran flawlessly. It is a problem with Cyberpunk and Black Myth Wukong. Both of those games have problems. Black Myth Wukong's issue, I don't know what causes it. I can't figure it out. If I turn ray tracing on, the game will not load. It will crash on load every time. Cyberpunk, apparently, everyone that has a 4090 has issues with that game since 2.1 or 2.21 came out. They did some update in the background for a new type of frame generation. And whatever that did does not play well with the 4090s or the 40s in general, the graphics cards. And the game just, the solution at this point is just play the game without ray tracing.
That is so weird that it's explicitly the 40 series that it fucks with.
Yeah. I mean, I guess there are other people on other graphics cards that are having issues too, but like the fact that I found that thing where everyone in the discussion had a 40, at least a 4070 to a 4090, and all of them were like, yeah, since this update, it's just been nothing. They're like, you can revert back to before that update in GOG, because GOG's pretty good about letting you go back versions if you want, or just turn ray tracing off. So I'm just going to let Cyberpunk chill in my library, and hopefully it's eventually fixed. And fingers crossed.
Or you buy a 5090.
That Witcher 4, or if I one day decide to buy a 5090. Even though I saw something that the 4090 outperforms the 5090 in some things.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. They're not going to make them anymore. The 4090 and the 5090 use the exact same die size, and it is as large as they can physically make them. So right now, they have pretty much said they're going to stop making the 4090s and just focus on 5090.
Well, hopefully then maybe one day my graphics card will be worth some money because everyone's going to want one for some reason or another, and I can pawn it off for a nice price and maybe get another graphics card. But I mean, this thing runs beautifully. Like, I have no complaints with this other than the issues with Cyberpunk and Black Myth Wukong. And the only reason Black Myth Wukong bugs me is because I got that game for free for getting the 4090. It came free because I got the NVIDIA 4090.
That is some shit.
So I'm just like, motherfucker. Because when I first got the game and started playing it, it ran fine. I don't know what update happened, but it broke ray tracing and it hasn't been fixed yet. I don't know if the guy who made that game is just so butthurt that they didn't win Game of the Year, that they haven't done shit with it since. I don't know, but
Well, see, I run a 3060, and like you mentioned Doom Eternal, I get 200 frames a second on Linux with the 3060 on that shit.
Yeah, that game is so well optimized.
It is really fucking badass at game engines.
Yeah. One of the things when I was looking up, like, what games are the most graphically intensive, because I wanted to test this thing to really see if it was just ray tracing bothering it or if it was an issue with the games. And people were like, oh, what about City Skylines 2? And everyone's like, no. There's a difference in graphically intensive and it's just fucking optimized terribly and runs bad.
Well, the nature of the city simulators, specifically like the City Skyline games, those are CPU intensive. They're not GPU intensive.
Yeah.
Just that the process of tracing where or what all the little people and cars and shit are doing for the traffic simulator, that is a big hit on your processor.
Yeah, that's all calculation. That's not graphical process.
Yeah.
But apparently that the sequel to City Skyline is not very well optimized.
Oh no, it shipped up hot steaming pile of garbage.
That's basically what I've heard, which makes me sad. And apparently Civ 7's getting review bombed right now from people doing early access, and people have issues with it, and it's all like almost nothing to do with the actual game from what I've seen. Some people do have complaints about the game, saying that the UI is too simplified now, but
it just says early access, right?
Yeah. Or it's maybe not early access, but they have, like, they paid for the thing so they get early access to the game before, like, a couple days before release.
I don't.
But that's always my thing, is when people complain before release, it's like, dude, you guys are the last wall of things that they can, like bug finders and stuff before the game comes out. That's just the way that is.
I love how
it's just like if I pre-purchase
people into paying extra for a game to beta test.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna do it with the WWE game if I can save up enough money. I don't even care about the early access. That's cool and everything. I just want all the DLC and stuff. I don't want to have to worry about having to go and buy the new one when it comes out and yada yada. Let me just get this one payment. Give me all the shit. It's the only game I do that for every year. All the rest of the games, I could care less about DLC unless I'm really into it. But the WWE games, and there's one reason. I like the universe mode. I like to build my own shows and have rosters of created people along with regular wrestlers. They have a community creations where you can go and download other people's wrestlers. Do you know how annoying it is to see a wrestler that you're like, God damn, he looks really cool. His moveset's really cool. I'm going to download him. Click him. You need Dick in the Butt DLC. You don't own Dick in the Butt DLC. You cannot download this character because it's missing pieces from the Dick in the Butt DLC. So I just go ahead and I let him fuck me in the butt. So I have the Dick in the Butt DLC.
Well, at least it's not the shit on your head DLC.
I tell you, the Vince McMahon shit on your head DLC coming soon. But only if you call your penis Brock Lesnar. Cock Lesnar. Dude, I really hope, I don't hope, but I really hope in his line of dildos that he named after wrestlers that he calls it Cock Lesnar. It's just Dong Cena.
So is it Dwayne the Cock Johnson?
Dwayne the Cock Johnson. Stone Cock Steve Austin.
Damn.
Stone Cold Steve Coxton. I don't know. The Undercocker.
Underbreaker.
Okay, I'm
Rip
done.
Genuine.
The Underbreaker. The Bumderbreaker. Yeah. We got there. We got there eventually. This is like the other day when Paul sent that picture of him playing his guitar on the toilet. And Kana was like, surely there's like a name for that. And then I just took every guitar company I could think of and added shit or poo into the title. Good times, man. Good times. Dumb jokes.
You know, I didn't actually think to examine that list too heavily. Honestly, I thought you went to Urban Dictionary and like searched and just give it an Urban Dictionary list. I'm like, damn.
Nope. Came up with every one of those sitting right here in this chair, giggling to myself like a child.
Oh.
Especially Epipoo. That one really made me laugh. I don't know why.
Well, we didn't have anything last week for Haha Dalton found an error, so either I knew what I was talking about with George Carlin or nobody listened. So
No, I heard the whole episode, man. And it was I didn't hear any fallacies. I did laugh at y'all calling Nate out. That made me giggle whenever that happened. But
We always have to call you guys out.
oh, wait until you find out what we got planned for the next episode. That one's really going to piss him off.
Especially my pick.
I think both.
oh Lord.
But, yeah, that's for the end of the episode. A little teaser.
Color me intrigued, boys.
So, I guess we'll get into the meat of it. So, Jeff, last week you pitched you wanted to do top 3 video game soundtracks.
Hell yeah.
When you mentioned it to me, I instantly knew what my 3 picks were going to be. And I know you said you got yours really fast. And Dalton, I hollered at you and asked if you'd be interested, and you said, shit, I got to keep it to 3. So...
Yeah, you guys are killing me not making this a top 5. Top 5 would have went so much easier for me. That third spot, that 1 and 2, I had them. That third spot took me days.
My third spot maybe have taken me 10 seconds.
So, I noticed kind of like some patterns amongst our lists. And before we get into the specifics, I got a question for y'all. And my question is, what was your personal criteria when picking your top 3? So, was it, these are just songs I really enjoy personally? Is it, I really like these games, ergo, I have a fondness for the soundtrack? Do you just have a hard-on for Nobu Uematsu? So, what was your personal criteria going in? And since, Jeff, this was your pick, we'll start with you. What were you looking at when you were picking your top 3?
Well, I guess basically the 3 that I picked are the soundtracks I listen to most on YouTube. I mean, I work an 8-hour job, and a lot of times it's like, you know what, I don't feel like listening to podcasts. I don't feel like listening to stand-up. I want to listen to some music. And the music I listen to I mean, the soundtracks I listen to are the three I listen to the most. I mean, obviously, yes, the three games I picked are all top tens, and it just happens to have all three of them have killer soundtracks. That's basically it. It's just like it's the three soundtracks I listen to the most.
So it's just separate from the game. You will like this music enough that you're listening to it on its own.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I will listen to them, just like I will try to find the complete soundtrack, and that even includes all the small forgotten songs. And someone will throw them in there just like, hey, I know some of you like this. Here it is. So even if it's like 2 hours long or 5 hours long, and if you want one of my picks, I will listen to it. And I'm just like, not. There's a reason why this is my favorite. It's fucking good.
That's fair. So Dalton, what about you? What was your criteria going in? How'd you narrow it down to your top three?
Okay, so a little bit of what Jeff said is, things that I've kind of listened to over the years outside of just the games. But also, I tried to think about it from my musician standpoint in a way. How well were they put together? If there was guitar in it, like what was the guitarist doing? Was it something impressive? Was it just something to just get by? That kind of thing. Also, I tried to think about where the songs are in the game, how you hear them, and how do they make you feel at that point in the game, because that can really matter. Music has a very good way of invoking a feel. Like when you're watching a movie, the soundtrack and thing going on can really help improve a mood or really get across an emotion that you need to be feeling. Think about that ASPCA commercial with Arms of the Angel by Sarah McLachlan. That commercial's sad. It is inherently sadder, or incredibly sadder, when you add in that song. So there are things like that as well that I took into account. And I also took into account earwormness. How catchy is it? How, does it get stuck in your head? Is it something that you would sing to yourself just walking around? And with all of that that I was trying to put together, this was still super fucking hard for me to narrow down. I do have honorable mentions, so we'll get to those eventually.
Yeah, we will have a little window for that. So I guess for me, the big number one criteria I held was not just are these songs that I listen to separate from the game. If you only used, which soundtrack I listen to the most, that did not make my top three. It's in my honorable mentions. My number one criteria was soundtracks that added something, not just that little extra push, but something major in and of itself to the games themselves, in my opinion. So that taking a game that is arguably already an amazing game, and the soundtrack not just give it that little extra push, but did something significant to it to make it not just a little better, but borderline masterpiece with one of my picks. So that was what I was looking at, was the soundtrack that massively added something to the game.
All right, well,
so
now I'm intrigued.
I think we're safe to start. So are we doing this in any specific order for y'all?
I am doing it from my number 3 to number 1.
Okay, I didn't know if order actually mattered to y'all, or if this was just your three best.
I'm
no
doing it in order,
order.
but if you guys just want to do it randomly,
Well, we'll do it from 3 up, but I'm just curious if to y'all this is actually a 3, 2, 1.
I'm starting at 3 to 1.
Okay, all right.
I could put them in a 3 to 1, though. When I came up with them, they're kind of just like the 3 best, but I can mentally sort them. So
Now, if for you order doesn't matter, we can add that stipulation to it. Because actually ranking these amongst it for me, I waffled back and forth on which one I would put at 1 and which one I would put at 2. And we might not actually know which way mine's going until I finally say it.
Suspense.
So, again, Jeff, since this was your pick, I'm going to lead with you. What was your number 3?
My number 3 was for a 2012 video game. The composer goes by the name of Jesper Kyd. Both of you ever heard of this guy?
Whisper Kid. That name doesn't ring a bell for me.
He did, if I recall, he did the first game of a... He did the game of a first game you've already covered on Steam Machine. Now, of course, I am looking up quickly to make sure. Yes, he did. My number 3, Borderlands 2.
Ah, okay. You know what's funny is when I think of the first Borderlands soundtrack, I don't think of anything other than "Better ain't no rest for the wicked, money don't grow on trees," because that's the song I think about with that game. But it did have a pretty killer soundtrack, and I've never played 2. Well, I've dabbled in 2.
Well, you need to play 2 because not only is it a much better game, it is a much better soundtrack. And I sent you a few examples over Discord, and one that we both seem to agree on, at least I'm pretty sure you may have listened to it. It's not my absolute favorite, but one of my favorites, and that was the Hyperion Slaughter.
Yeah, so you had sent me Boom Boom and Captain Flint Boss, and then when that was done, because I was outside with Lilith, so I was listening to it in my earbuds, and when that went off, the next song that played was Hyperion Slaughter, and I really enjoyed that one too. I was just bobbing along out there.
And that's basically what this game does. It's just like, the graphic wise, it looks very pretty. It's very bright and colorful, but obviously it's very gritty because, that's just the style of Borderlands. And you can go into this very mundane area. My personal favorite is a song called, on the soundtrack, it's just called Ice. And you're in an area, you just left the glacier, which is supposed to be the opening area of the game. And this is like the first spot where the game kind of starts opening up to you, and that's when you can start using vehicles. And it's ice, it's very mountainous, and it's just when everything is calm and you're not in combat, it's very slow. It's just very calm. It's peaceful. It's a very nice sounding song. Then you get into combat, and all of a sudden you just start hearing this heavy acoustic guitar just start playing in the background. And the first time I noticed it, I actually had to pause the game. I'm just like, holy shit.
It's always nice when you're playing something and the music starts catching you, and you're like, oh man, let me just chill and listen to this for a minute. It's really good. Yeah, it's like the pausing Goldeneye. You're sitting there and you listen to tune 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 tune, like the greatest rap beat that's never been rapped over. I'm sure it has by now, but you know what I mean.
But yeah, there's a lot of songs in this game that, like I said, it's one of the my third most listened to soundtrack. Not all of the songs I listen to, I'll usually skip them if it's just like I'm not in the mood. But I would say about a good 75% I will listen to these songs, and I'll even find the extended version, just so it's like, oh boy, okay, I get an extra 30 minutes or an hour. And it just, I don't know, it just always triggers the emotions of like, the first time what's going on in that moment in the video game. Like a Boom Boom. The boss fight is you're fighting these two, I guess you could call them rocket midgets. I don't know how else to say it. One of
90s
them,
kid, he gets 3 a year.
Yep. One of them is on a giant cannon, like firing at you, while the other one is in a rocket pack, and he's shooting rockets at you. So it's like, okay. And this is actually only a mini boss fight. That was unintentional.
Well, it was funny as shit.
But no, every time when I hear that song, I remember that boss fight. It's just like it's fun, it's good. I don't know. I mean, we're obviously gonna post some of our favorite songs.
Yeah, I will have a playlist of samples from all of the different soundtracks that we're going over tonight. And that'll be in the show notes.
Hell yeah, you can throw that together on YouTube.
Yeah.
Remember to make it public. I have done that before. And then people, I can't see this shit. What's going on?
But yeah, that's what this soundtrack does. You have the two versions. You got the ambient version, and then you got the combat version. And then you have all the different boss fights.
Well, honestly, I have never played a Borderlands game, but the vibe of the songs that you sent made me go, you know what, maybe I should give this shit a shot because I was wrong about Red Dead. Maybe these could be fun.
I will say, when I first started the series, I started with 2. And I felt... I mean, I eventually did play 1, but I felt I didn't need to play 1. The only time I really felt... it's not really a spoiler. If remember Lilith, she appears in Borderlands 2. But the first time you see her, and I have no knowledge of the first game, she's just like having a casual conversation with you, and the entire time I just have my gun pointed right at her. It's just like, I don't trust you. Who are you? Oh, you were one of the Vault Hunters in the first game. Oh, you're an ally. Okay, we're good.
And I will say, Dane, if you keep up with the free giveaway games on Epic, you probably own all 3 Borderlands games.
Yeah, I know that I have all of them scattered across my different accounts because I remember loading up Lutris, and there's just tons of Borderland games in my list.
I know there's the pre-sequel, Dane, or Jeff. I know there's the
and
pre-sequel.
actually, there's also the Tales of from the Borderlands.
Yeah, I've got that one in there too somewhere.
I had somebody tell me, or it was a podcast I was listening to that said that that's their favorite Borderlands game. They think that's the best one, the Tales of game. But I don't know. But I would totally be down to play that some multiplayer.
It's fun multiplayer.
So, yeah, I feel like that's a good way to experience Borderlands, is playing through the campaign with buddies. Not necessary, but it's a fun way to do it.
But that is my number 3, Borderlands 2.
So, what about you, Dalton? What was your number 3?
If I'm going to number these, I think number 3 would probably have to be a game that we did recently for the Steam Machine podcast. It swept a bunch of awards at the game show, or the Steamy Awards, and it was just something that I just can't tell people enough how good the music is in this game. And the fact that it's coming in at number 3 might be weird that I'm saying that, but like, dude, Ease 8, Lacrimosa of Dana. From beginning to end, that soundtrack whips absolute ass. And one of the songs that I'd sent you guys to check out is the one that I send everybody from that game, which is Sunshine Coastline. And it just starts off with like this, little guitar riff, and the drums are kind of doing an intro thing, and this piano comes in doing an arpeggio, just playing it. Just sounds really pretty. And all of a sudden, the drums do that, and then it kicks in, and the song starts going. And that's the first song you hear in the game after your ship that you're on crashes, and you are now on this island. And it is just such a song that invokes the feeling of adventure. Like, it just makes you want to go out and explore. And that song plays every time you go near the coastline. And I never once got tired of it throughout the entire game. So, like, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, when I first heard that, I was not prepared. I was like, okay, a coast song? Okay, usually it's very tropical, very calming, and yet it's very heavy, maybe almost like maybe industrial metal. And I was just like, oh, shit.
Yeah, I would call it maybe closer to power metal in a way, but it's very Japanese metal sounding.
Yeah, I was not expecting the Ease songs that you sent to go as hard as they did.
Dude, I'm telling you, yeah.
Now, is all the songs in that soundtrack that same vibe, or does it mixed up?
There are some that are slowed down, and there's some that are more serious sounding for moments that are happening in the game. But a lot of the like open world tracks where like the battle music sounds a lot like the stuff that I sent. It's all just with this epic feeling to it, and really brings out an emotion. Like Gendarmes is the other song I sent you guys. I think that plays on Gendarme Mountain, and it looked it up, and Gendarmes literally just means men at arms. And that song goes hard as shit too. And it's like, it's not just like what you would think of like video game music. It's like, it's got ripping guitar solos in it, and the keyboardist is equally as good, just tearing it up. And I going back to Sunshine Coastline, there's just parts in that where it's like there's just a little break in the song, and either the guitar player will just rip a little, or it'll get quiet, and the piano will play something really pretty, but it just fits so well. It's so well produced, and it really is. It's like that throughout the entire game. And here's the kicker: all the Ys games are like that. Like Neon Falcom doesn't miss.
Who's the composer?
The composers is the Falcom sound team, Hayato Sonata and Takahiro Unisuga, but the arrangers are Yukihiro Jindo and Mitsuo. I'm so bad with Japanese names. Mitsuo Singa, but it's in house. It's Falcom in house. Like it'll come up again in my honorable mentions. But the Trails in the Sky series and the Trails series is also Falcom. Also has banger songs. Like, it's so good, but. This game in particular, soundtrack just blew me away to the point that I listen to it. I'll just, like, when I'm playing another, like, I'll be playing Skyrim, I'll throw on some Ys 8 music in my list, and it really just makes me feel like going on an adventure instead of sometimes I just get monotonously bored in Skyrim running through quests I've done a million times just to get them out of my quest log.
Lilith, get in the truck. We're going on an adventure. These are side-scrolling 2D games, right? Or at least I know the early versions, like the early games were. What?
There's only one. There's only one that was like that, and it was the one they made for Super Nintendo. So the original Ys games play kind of like original Zelda.
Okay.
Top down, you can see Adol, but the way you attacked enemies is you ran into them with the side of you that had the sword on it. You know what I mean? Like, there was no swinging. That was how the original Ys games were, and then they updated a little bit to where, what's a good way to say it? Like, you know, like old school JRPG angle, where like you weren't top down, but you weren't third person either. You're kind of like that cloud in the sky look.
Yeah.
So a lot of the Ys games were like that, and they became little hack and slash games where you ran around, and then they went from 2D to 3D, and now they're third person 3D action hack and slash. Really good. Really, really good. I know they're not particularly your style of game, Jeff, but like, I think if I were going to recommend you a JRPG, I would probably throw you more into something like Ys as opposed to some obscure game that wouldn't really catch you. Because I know you like stuff like Final Fantasy, so I knew like turn-based stuff you may be more apt to. So like, if I was going to throw you like, oh yeah, here's I'll throw you Ys as opposed to like Kingdom Hearts, because I think that you would enjoy. Because I know you hate Disney, for one. So it's like, I know you would probably enjoy Ys more.
You made me lose it. Am I missing anything story-wise from the previous games if, say, I just jumped into Ys 8?
No, so the way Ys works is each game is like a tale from an old traveler's book of stories. So there are a couple like reoccurring characters, like his buddy Doge. I call him Doge, but I think it's Doge, D-O-G-E. And there's like a couple other characters that may pop up in different games, but literally each one is their own contained story. So it's like Ys 8 might take place between Ys 4 and 5. Like 5 may have happened 10 years after Ys 8, but like Ys 8's tale is just another tale in the journal of Adol, who's now, I think, in canon like an old man, or he might even be dead, and people are going through and reading the tales of all of his adventures.
Because, yeah.
It's really quite a cool premise.
You, Willie, you guys really just love those games. Nate as well. You guys just praise those games. I'm always just like, I don't know. It doesn't quite sound like my cup of tea. But I will say it might be more my cup of tea than, say, Persona or what's the other one?
Yeah.
Or Yakuza.
Yeah. Oh, see, we'll talk about Yakuza in my honorable mentions, but I am not convinced that I think that you would actually really like those games if you got into them, but we'll talk about that later. Dane, what was your third, motherfucker? You've been sitting there nice and quiet.
So, a couple years ago, I hit you up, Dalton. I paid you $20, and I said,
You did.
I want to be on the show. You want to do this game or that game? You took a vote. And my number 3 pick is the one that we ended up doing, my first appearance on the Steam machine. Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance.
Yeah, okay. I knew it could be one of two games. I didn't remember which one came first. Okay, so yeah.
So,
what a soundtrack.
So Jeff, I know you've never played this game.
Nope.
But you're at least familiar with some of the visual iconography of the Metal Gear franchise. The big bipedal tanks that fire nuclear warheads, sneaking around in suits.
Yes.
And mullets.
Naked Raiden. Everybody knows about Naked Raiden.
Oh, yeah. So the whole impetus for Metal Gear Rising was let's make Raiden cool again.
Which, might I say, real quick, and I think I said this on the episode too, I never hated Raiden. Like, I love Metal Gear 2, and I loved Raiden as a character. And when I got older and got online and realized there was this huge wave of hate for him because he wasn't Metal Gear, he wasn't Snake, I'm like, that's okay. Snake wasn't the main character of that game. It's all right. Like,
I think it was the bait and switch of opening up with Snake.
That is fair, because when they released the demo, it was only the Snake part.
Yeah.
So that is a totally fair criticism. I will give you that.
And yeah, at this point, we have more Metal Gear games starring not Snake than Snake.
Yeah, pretty much.
But,
it's like,
you know,
what, Metal Gear 1, because Metal Gear 3 is his dad. Or, sorry, quote-unquote dad. Metal Gear 5
his gene donor.
I believe that. Yeah. So, yeah, there's...
So is that why it makes sense that they didn't get David Hayter for a 5 and it's Kiefer Sutherland?
No. Look, I love Kiefer Sutherland, but they fucked up.
Dude, David Hayter is Snake. Like, when I play through 5, I might put it on like Japanese voice or something. Because it's just going to bother me to hear someone that isn't, Colonel. Actually, it's more a high pitch. Colonel.
That's actually a really good Snake.
Dude, so... Quick tangent. I've already talked about this before on another show, but that's okay. I've never told it on this show. Factory Sealed had him as a guest one time, and they were asking questions, and Eric goes, "All right, this first question comes up from Dalton Suter," and David Hayter went, "Dalton Suter," and I about came my pants. I was working overnights in Dollar General, and it was just me, Cody, and this other dude we worked with, and I pulled out my headphone and just went, "Cody!" He's like, comes running. "Is everything okay?" He goes, I said, "Dude, David Hayter just said my name in Snake's voice." He goes, "What?" And he comes over, he takes the headphone, he listens to it. He's like, "That might be the coolest thing that's ever happened to you." I was like, I know.
Oh, man. See, Metal Gear 2 was my first Metal Gear game. So I did have the kind of, wait, why am I playing a different guy? I was lukewarm, but I warmed up to Raiden because I really liked Snake's vibe. But for me, Metal Gear ended at 4. And I refused to play 5, the not quite 5, and the action game that they pitched as originally supposed to bridge the gap between 2 and 4, and then became a sequel to happen after 4. I didn't want to play it. And when we played it for that show, I fell in love with Metal Gear Rising because of one scene in the very first mission. So in this game, you're a cyborg ninja. You're running around. You've got the super, awesome action because Platinum Games does action beautifully. And eventually you get to a point where you are fighting, as a dude with a sword, a Metal Gear Ray. This thing is enormous, it's fast, and it was like the big bad of so many Metal Gear games up to this point. And you're fighting it with a fucking sword. And there's a spot...
Pure anime.
Yeah, pure anime. And it's got this badass soundtrack going on, and I'm jamming. I'm into this fight. And then after you do so much damage and you get to that end stage, it starts in with the quick times. And Metal Gear Rising does quick times right because they are they're intricate, they're well-timed, they're skill-based. But when this quick time kicks in, the Ray slams its arm down and Raiden throws his sword up to block it. And as he blocks it, the vocals on this track kick in, and it just blasts, "Rules of Nature!" And he grabs the arm and flips the fucking Ray over his body and throws it. And that was my moment of, son of a bitch, this is awesome. And I'm still playing. He runs up the arm, slicing it into pieces as he goes, jumps up, slices the motherfucker in half. And that was the most tame scene of the entire game. So,
I was about to say, keep in mind, this is maybe 15 minutes into the game, if that.
You don't even have all of your abilities yet.
It's because that happens before Raiden gets fucked up and then comes back for the second time, right? Or is that after that?
After that, I do believe is when he ends up losing the fight to Sam, and then
Gets his jaw, all that stuff,
goes full blown Cyber Ninja again. But the reason that I say the soundtrack for Metal Gear Rising elevates it so much, unlike the older Metal Gear games, which were like 8-hour movies by themselves with, short snippets of stealth gameplay, this is a full-blown balls-to-the-wall action game, the full length of it. If you are... they have stealth kills as like a legacy feature, but it was something I never once engaged with the entire time I was playing the game. It just told me that it was a thing, and I said, that's nice, let's do this the fun way.
And I feel like they put that in there for Metal Gear diehards who really like the stealth aspect. Whereas that is a game I played more like Dynasty Warriors than anything.
I played it like Devil May Cry.
Yeah, let's just go whip some fucking ass, son. Stealth, what the fuck does that mean? Those 5 letters should never touch in this universe.
But as you're playing this game...
6 letters, 7 letters, whatever.
Yeah. But as you're playing through, the cutscenes introduce these really wild fucking villains, but they're not going through the trouble of really developing them and giving them the intricate story that traditional Metal Gear Solid games would, because one, this game had gone through development hell and had been outsourced to Platinum because Kojima's team that he had working on it just couldn't get their shit together for it. So they tell most of the real story for each of the bosses within the tracks. Yeah.
And to talk about that a little bit, I think that is also around the time when the cracks started to form with Kojima and Konami. I think that part of that game was a big cause of that, with the development issues. That was all.
Yeah, that was around in the same ballpark, because he never actually got to finish the last bit for Metal Gear Solid 5 before he got ousted, and the game had like remnants of a final mission that would actually wrap up all the different story threads that never get wrapped up in that game. But
it's fucking sad.
But like another instance, this wasn't one of them that I sent to you, but the fight with Sam, which is like one of the penultimate boss fights, you get the story of how he was a mercenary that got roped into all of this because he started out fighting against Armstrong, the big bad of the game. And the coolest part in that, because essentially ninja versus samurai is how that fight runs. At one point, you knock his sword out of his hand, and when you knock it out, his vocals for his backing track go away. You take his sword, you take his story. So it's working on extra levels. And then you get the big fucking ridiculous fight at the end of it with Senator Armstrong, Nanomachine's son.
Nanomachine, son. Jim Cornette jacked.
And the entire core of that song is pointing out the similarities between the big bad and Raiden. How fundamentally they are doing the exact same thing. They are taking the law into their own hands and doing all this different shit. And the argument is, well, who's actually the good guy? Which obviously it's Raiden, but still,
The best villains always have a good point.
But yeah, just so much of that game is so over the fucking top, and they brought such an over the top, unexpected soundtrack with it. And, I know you were asking earlier, I think the primary composer for the soundtrack was Jamie Christopherson, who enlisted a bunch of musicians to help him with writing the vocals and producing some of it, including, not Radiohead, Machine Head guitarist, Logan Matter.
That makes a lot of sense to me. Dude could write some riffage. Love Machine Head. That's for a different podcast. I will say this, one of the most difficult songs that I know how to play, just because of the speed of it, is a Machine Head song.
I always wanted to learn how to play that Racer X song, Technical Difficulties.
Hey, I'd like to learn this really fucking ridiculous song. That's what I want to do. That's a high bar to set for yourself for any Racer X song.
Oh, I'm not saying I would ever pull it off. It's just, if I could pick one song to be like, I can't even play fucking Kumbaya, but I could play this.
You know what song got requested to me one time? And I should probably try this because this has been 10, 15 years ago now. But it absolutely, I didn't think it would be that hard because I played it on Rock Band. It wasn't so bad. And I looked up how to play it, and that song whipped my ass. Green Grass and High Tides. There is a lot of complicated guitar shit going on in there that you just would not think. But as far as like picking and doing some random chords and then throwing a chord in, that's another 4 or 5 steps down the neck. Things like that. It's just, it'll get you. And then the solos are nothing, no joke.
I think back when I was playing, I learned to play a couple of Buckethead songs, and that was the best I could do.
I've always wanted a kill switch because of him doing Jordan.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's got that button he just presses that cuts the sound out, which was what gives it that weird sound. It's fucking wild to watch him do that live.
I looked into it. That's not really that hard a mod to install. Just drilling a hole and, it's a normally open switch. So when the button's up, or normally closed switch, so when the button's up and not pressed, everything is working fine. When you press it down, that's what turns it off. And you just wire it into the line between your pickups and your actual line out to your amp. That's all it is.
Huh, it's beyond my skill to do. I don't want to drill into one of my guitars and fuck it up. But that is not good to know that it's not that hard. If I ever wanted to get it done, it probably wouldn't cost me too much.
I think that honestly, you could probably do it without even having to solder the wires together. It's just you would probably want to solder it to get a nice, good connection and not have any kind of static or feedback come from it.
Oh, yeah. Learned my lesson with my Ibanez 7-string. My input was giving me issues, so I pulled it apart. I put the wires back. I resoldered it, put it back in. I did something wrong because when I plug into it, all I hear is feedback. I play, the feedback goes away. I stop playing, and it's just brrrr. So, yeah, that's great.
You probably got a loose wire in there that's causing just a little bit of a short and causing that.
Yeah, the problem was when I opened up the input and pulled it out, they gave you about a half of an inch maybe of wire to work with. So it wasn't real easy to do. So I might try to find where I could like extend that somehow. You know what I mean? Like some connectors and maybe see if I could get it to, I don't know, one day. Or I'll just take it to a luthier and get them to do it. I'm just lazy. It's a sweet guitar, but it hasn't worked for longer than I had it working now, which is just sad.
Oh, man, that stinks.
But I would imagine, going back to the Rising soundtrack, I would imagine that a lot of those, if they weren't played on 7 strings, a lot of those songs are detuned. Like they're at least playing drop C, maybe even drop B on those riffs, because those riffs in Metal Gear Revenge or Rising Revengeance are heavy. But they're not like a standard heavy.
The thing is, I thought it was actually a really treble-heavy soundtrack. There wasn't a whole lot of bass in there to me.
No. It's not Doom levels of playing an 8-string guitar like. But some of the riffage and stuff to me just sounded like it was in a key lower than standard E would be. I could be wrong though.
But I mean, having so much like cybernetic and robotic stuff, even thematically, it does make sense to have a kind of tinny sound to the soundtrack, because you're not going for an industrial feel, you're going for like a technological feel. So I guess it would be suiting if you want to over-examine it and try and give them more credit than they probably were putting into it.
Well, that's what these deep dive analysis do, man. We need to get seven hours of content. I saw somebody, they had an 11-hour video that was a dissection of The Force Awakens. Or no, it might have been The Phantom Menace. But like, I'm like, dude, that's like an hour and a half, 2-hour movie. How are you going to talk about a 2-hour movie for 12 hours? But I'm going to watch it sometime just to see.
We do love our long YouTube videos around here.
It's true.
Yes.
So I think that kind of sums up everybody's number 3s. So let's see, I guess starting for number 2, let's see, how do I want to go around this? I want to try and end it with Jeff, so I'll kick off this next round of it. Number 2, that means Dalton gets to kick off the last round. I'm bouncing back and forth. All right, I've made the call. This is one y'all haven't played, but I'm hoping it will eventually make it to Steam Machine. So my number 2 pick, Devil May Cry 5 soundtrack.
Oh, okay. Devil May Cry's got some hits too, dude.
So here's the reason I picked it. The series had peaked at number 3. Number 4 came out. Dante had always been the only character you play it as, except, 3 had the special edition where you got to play as his twin brother, who was the villain of it. You get to 4. They tried to introduce a new protagonist for the series and fundamentally changed the way that combat went. So they introduced Nero. He has a demon arm, and they start trying to drag more God of War mechanics into it. So instead of just crazy hack and slash, he has a grab move. So he can grab them and bring them to him, or, if it's big stuff, grab them and pull him to them. a la like the Blades of Chaos in the old God of War games. And they were trying to simplify it, but they couldn't go all the way, so halfway through the game, it switches back over to playing Dante, who is so OP that he breaks the fucking game. You get back into the swing of playing through the game as Dante, and then you play the final 2 missions as Nero. Game didn't sell well. People were pissed off about Nero. It was a rush development. So they say, all right, that's it, but we've got this nice IP that everyone knows, so they reboot the series, hand it off to an American developer, and DMC Devil May Cry is just a hot abortion of what Devil May Cry always was, but it's still better than Devil May Cry 2. Dalton's favorite, please at him over that. And that game bombed, and I'm like, that's it, they killed it. There will never be another Devil May Cry game. So a few years back, they announced that they're going back and they're making a Devil May Cry 5. Dalton, Jeff, how often do you see them unreboot a series?
Not very often.
Any media. That never happens.
Yeah, it's very, very, very rare.
Like, if they cut it off and start it over, they never go back. Capcom said, sorry, we fucked up, but we're going to finish off this storyline that we started years ago and wrap up the Sons of Sparta tale, and we're going to release Devil May Cry 5. And my first thought is, they're going to fuck it up. They're going to fuck it up, and it's not going to be good, and they're going to ruin this huge pinnacle of, like, not my childhood, but my teen years. They're going to fuck it up. And then they started releasing some teaser footage, and they released, before the game, the character themes. And when I listened to Nero's battle theme, I instantly was given hope for the franchise. Because that theme tells who Nero is, and ultimately they did pay off what they promised with the song, because this game actually gave Nero his own character. He was no longer just, oh, I'm kind of a badass, and I'm Dime Store Dante, but I have a slower moveset. They gave him character, and it came through in the song. And then when the special edition came out and they added Virgil in as a playable character, which, worst kept secret in the gaming industry was that Dante's twin brother is going to be the final boss. Everyone knew it even before they fucked up and spoiled it in a trailer. But these games are at their best whenever it's Dante and Virgil fighting one another. Because Dante always has all these wild-ass weapons that he's coming in. And he's got a very Devil May Cry attitude, as opposed to Virgil, who is this very stoic, very serious. He only has a couple weapons, and he has mastered them. Plus, they wear almost opposite colors, so you know lots of deep philosophical shit going on with that. It's bullshit anime melodrama, but I love it. When I got to play as Virgil, who plays like a final boss, you feel like the final boss of the game when you play as him and you start fucking shit up in this game. And his theme song kicks in, and you're just slaughtering demons with these perfectly timed katana strikes and destroying everything, and it starts screaming, I am the storm that is approaching. You feel like it. And the fact that they went back, did this game, finally gave Virgil the character development he needed to actually make him make sense with as little screen time as he had, and these kick-ass soundtracks that actually gave me hope for the game. And I've just listened to these tracks tons of times. The only one they fucked up, one knocker, and this is the reason I didn't put it as number one. The vocal line on Dante's theme song is terrible. They gave him a black metal theme, and that did not suit his character.
Yeah, I mean, I get black metal, evil, devil, but when I think Dante, I don't think of black metal.
Like, to give you an idea of how much I love the soundtracks for these games, I actually bought the 3-disc collection for the soundtrack for Devil May Cry 3. I imported that shit from Japan. That's how much I love the soundtracks to these games. But Dante had always had the kind of orchestral gothic thing mixed with the heavy metal.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they kind of ended up doing for Virgil's theme that I sent y'all. You know, it's got the actual violin and the cellos in there that give way to that just chugging guitar riff.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that style of music. Like, I love goth metal. It's one of my favorites.
But I mean, that's my number 2, so Jeff, what was your number 2?
All right. Before I reveal it, I want you both to go on a little journey with me. So the first time I played this game in this series, my brother and I saw the title and were like, what the fuck? This sounds stupid. But my oldest brother, I've mentioned before, John, who is 5 years older than me, assured us, like, give it a chance. You guys are going to love it. So, my older brother Steve, he pops the disc in. I'm watching him play it, and we're both just like, oh, okay, the opening cinematic. It's very pretty. It's very. We didn't know anime at the time, but we're just like, oh, this is a very nice cinematic. We were shocked by it, and then all of a sudden, it's like you're just walking around this dark room, and then this weird dragon creature leaps onto the floor, engaging battle, and that's when the battle theme to Final Fantasy IX kicks in, and we were both just like, "Oh my god, what is this game? Why is this music incredible?" It's I will go. I've always gone on record, and people always disagree with me, saying Final Fantasy IX is Uematsu's best work. And do you know who else agrees with me? Uematsu says it is the one thing he is most proud of.
I had actually forgotten, because I've only played through 9 all the way one time, because it had very unfortunate timing. It came out right at the end of the PlayStation 1's life cycle, as I was transitioning over to the PS2, and it really got overshadowed by Final Fantasy X with voice acting.
I also think it was overshadowed by the fact that, Dalton, I know you're not one of those people, but 8 receives a lot of hatred that a lot of people ignored 9.
I don't understand why people didn't like 8 more than they did, because I really enjoyed it. But 7 and 8 were my introduction to Final Fantasy, and I was expecting more of that kind of gritty industrial cross between almost a cyberpunk steampunk fantasy thing that Final Fantasy 7 established, and then Final Fantasy 8 kind of continued. So when 9 showed up and they went back to that stylized kind of squat, chibi stylized characters, that one really threw me, because it was just full-blown, steampunk and high fantasy. So 9 always felt like the outlier to me in the PlayStation titles.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd forgot, you sent me those tracks and I was listening to them. And I'm like, shit, I forgot how hard this went.
Yeah, 9 soundtrack's really good. I'm another one that never really beat it. But you weren't done, so continue.
Me or Dane?
Oh,
no,
Dane. I felt like Dane was in the middle of still saying something, and I cut him off. So.
No, I was just going to say that, Nobuo Uematsu did amazing work. And the only other thing I wanted to say about him was the way he wrote his music, it translates to just about any way you want to interpret it. Because they work great as those MIDI tracks that they were played as. Even like Final Fantasy VII was just plain unsynthesized MIDIs, but they still were really good tracks. They interpret well orchestrally, and even when they did the Final Fantasy VII movie Advent Children, and they did like the heavy metal remixes of One Wing Angel.
Yeah.
Just the way he wrote his music, it translated perfectly well from one style to the next. And then listen to the overworld theme that you sent, Jeff. I'd forgot about the kind of what's the word? Like the sailory type, the sea shanty feel to it, the kind of nautical feel that it had, where there were sky pirates.
Which they kind of were. I mean, at this time in the game, it's like boats are being what's the word? They're being pushed aside while
phased out.
Phased out. Thank you, because airships were really heavily used. Because it's like, oh, they run on mist. There's mist everywhere.
The Hindenburg never happened there.
Well,
But
yeah. You paint it in thermite, what do you expect to happen?
oops. But yeah, it's one song that I always think about in Final Fantasy IX is he's not the final boss, but Kuja's final boss theme, which is called The Dark Messenger. And it starts off the same way his theme has always done, with like a organ, and you have some percussion in the background. But this one, you can tell this one is different because, I mean, yes, you have the organ and everything, but the percussion is hitting just a little bit harder until finally, it's just like he starts. I know that this is probably very MIDI music. It's not symphonic, but the way I'm picturing it is, if this were orchestrally done, was the guy who's in charge of percussion just starts banging on a bass drum, and then he just starts hitting the cymbals and the snares, and then it just kicks into the main battle theme. I mean, Dalton, you listen to it, and obviously you're the musician, so you could explain it better than what I'm describing. But you were talking about emotion. That song hits so much emotion to me.
Uematsu is a master of things like that, like harboring emotion in his music. And basically what you're just describing is a crescendo of sorts. Is like it's playing and it builds and it builds and it builds and it finally gets to that one moment, and then boom, and then it kicks in, and then everything happens. It's the boom crescendo. Now here it is, and it's just wonderful. It doesn't always have to be epic. You know what I'm saying? But in that moment, like in a boss fight, obviously it should feel that way, and I think he brought it off masterfully.
Yeah, I mean, you got these hard-hitting songs like that, but then you go to a location, and it's just like you're going to this farm town called Dali, and it's just this very slow, peaceful, relaxing music. I believe it's like mostly violin and piano. But it's just like it's just calming, ambient farmland music.
And another point that how music can help build ambience and atmosphere. You go to this cozy little farmland, and there's some houses and stuff, and there's this beautiful, soft little music playing. It's very welcoming. Now, you show up to that same little farmhouse area, and there's like something from a horror movie soundtrack playing. You're going to be like, oh shit, there's something up here. Mm-hmm. And you specifically decide that because of the music and the atmosphere that it brings on. So,
luckily, nothing like that happens when you're actually in the town. It's usually when you're underneath it, or just on the outskirts of it is where all the action is, where all the change of music is. But when you're inside it, and it's just this calm, peaceful music, it's just like, okay, I have a minute.
Yeah. It's the opposite of, is it Fallout 3 or is it New Vegas, where you come upon the little town and everyone's super happy and like happy to see you, and everybody's super welcoming and everything, and everybody's well fed, and you find out it's because they find travelers and kill them and serve them to their community. And yeah.
Spoiler.
Nothing like that. No. It's like a 30-year-old game. Not quite, but you know what I mean. That game's been around for 120 years.
I will say, for the longest time, Final Fantasy IX was my number one favorite video game soundtrack. But in recent years, it has been outdone.
Well,
I'm honestly shocked that it wasn't your number one.
Well, I got something to tell you that will warm your heart, Jeff. Just so you know that I did have a lot of love for Final Fantasy IX when it came out. Back in my old AOL days, my AIM username for the longest time was Black Waltz BW5, because they'd already took 1 through 4, and I like 5. I locked in 5, even though there's only 3 of the Black Waltzes in the game.
Yeah.
The mystery 5th one. It was only hinted about in hidden texts.
You gotta do a perfect run on Ozma, a no-hit run on Ozma, and you could unlock Black Waltz 5.
You have to unlock Captain Leo first, and then you have to port that save over. As long as it's on the same memory card.
You have to have a save file from Final Fantasy VII with Aerith still alive on disc 2. Spoilers. And it's Aerith, not Aerith. If you say Aerith, fuck you.
Well, fuck you too just a little bit, because Aerith is her name.
Aerith. And on Super Nintendo, it was Final Fantasy 3.
When I hear Aerith, I hear Eraser Adam. Shout out to his podcast, Revival.
Hot take. Final Fantasy 3-6 is boring once you hit the World of Ruin.
Yeah, I never played past the World of Ruin.
So I was doing a Let's Play of that for the JRPG Report on the Patreon, and I just gave up. I haven't done a Let's Play since. Yep. Like that game killed it. It got to the point where I was like, now you guys know me. I like when stories end with on a bad note. I like when horror movies are not afraid to end not in a good way. But there's a certain point where you take so much negativity and you're just like, all right, I need to play something happier than this. And I got to that point in Final Fantasy VI where it was like everything was just fucking sad, and it just kept getting sadder. And I was just like, maybe I just wasn't in the right headspace. But I was just like, this ain't for me. I like my PlayStation 1 Final Fantasy.
It really wasn't the sad for me.
I was just bored trying to find everyone. It's like the last person I needed to find was Locke, and like I'm tired of looking for Locke. I'm done.
For me, it was just that it killed the momentum. It brought everything to a screeching halt, and now you have to regather. I think you can actually go against the final boss run without having the full party.
You just need 3.
Yeah. But killing the momentum like that and then taking Terra away from me, because I think at that point it switches from where your main character is Terra to
Celeste.
She
was actually my main.
Yeah, that was a weird moment for me.
I loved Celeste.
I wanted my green hair anime girl.
I don't know why people hold that game as highly as they do, unless it was just everybody played it at a certain time and it was good for the time.
I think everyone is just. It hit everyone at the right time. It's probably that might have been their first Final Fantasy. I don't know. There's a lot of people I know that love Final Fantasy 4/2.
Yeah, that's one I haven't played.
I
take that back. I played the first 10 minutes of it. I have the 3DS version, but I have the one that got ported, so the 3D version on Steam, and it runs at a crisp, clean, like 16 frames per second stock. Like there's no fixing that. The whole game, if you try to make it run quicker, the game will run quicker. So yeah, I think I'll play the 2D version whenever I get around to Final Fantasy 4 instead of playing that.
I think the problem is I have 9 on such a high pedestal that no other Final Fantasy will ever compare it, because like I said at the very start, Final Fantasy, what a stupid sounding title, and they made 9 of these things.
Final Fantasy X.
IX. What is IX? But I immediately ate my words when I saw the opening cinematic and then the music, and then it's just like, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, who is this adorable, cute little character that looks like a Jawa? Oh, Vivi is fantastic.
I would burn the world down for Vivi. I love Vivi.
He is one of the best video game characters.
Now, I gotta ask you, Jeff, when you played through Final Fantasy IX and you finally get to change her name, did you actually change it to Dagger? Or did you just revert it back to what you'd been calling her the entire time? What was it, Garnet?
Yes. My first playthrough, I'm just like, oh, at this time, it's just like, oh, I'm not Zidane. This is Jeff. Oh, Vivi, this is my black mage, Blackie. Steiner, I'm trying to think what I named him. I may have named him after my friend Mark at the time. But it's just like, I always find that dialogue hilarious, just because like, what is this thing called? It's like, oh, that's a dagger. It's a small knife. Oh, so this is what it's called, a dagger, huh? Well, I changed my name to Garnett. It's just like, well done, Jeff. You just made a joke that only you are laughing at. You just made this character seem like a total ditz.
I will say, in the few times that I've started up Final Fantasy IX and then I fall off of it for one reason or another, I never call her like Dagger. When it's like I know her by Garnet, and then she wants to change her name to Dagger, and I'm like, no. I'm not calling you Dagger, okay? It's like you can call me Nighthawk. Oh. It's like, no, dude. I'm calling you by your fucking name, Dagger. You're not nearly badass or cool enough yet for me to call you Dagger.
Yeah.
You need like a teardrop tattoo on your face.
Yeah,
there's a few things
when she says, I want to change my name, and it gets the option, it's only like 3-4 hours into the game. It's like, you haven't earned that name yet.
Yeah, dude. I see no leather on you. Can't call you Dagger.
Hold on, those are some tight leather pants that she's wearing there.
I always assume that they're just like some bell bottoms.
It's possible. It's also wrong. It's just like, okay, you're 16 years old. Japanese, Japanese, why do you do this to us? When I first played it, I was like 13 years old. I was like, oh boy. Now here I am at 37. It's just like, oh no.
I suddenly had a thought and immediately decided I really don't want to know. Like, what is the age of consent in Japan? Because that might explain some of the creepiness that comes out of there.
It's the same as is in Iowa. Isn't it like 13?
I'm sorry, what? Iowa? What the fuck are they doing up there?
You don't want to know.
Besides pumping out
apparently
Slipknot.
preteens.
God almighty.
But yeah, you both need to do another playthrough of it. Dalton, when you finally go through it for a Steam Machine, I am going to be a guest.
If it comes up on a poll before I eventually get around to like deciding to want to play it, dude, campaign for it. See what you can do.
Well, I know
You've
we've
seen
been
that
threatening
works.
a Final Fantasy month in our private chats, Jeff.
Oh, that would be a fun month.
I'll be honest. I've only played 3 Final Fantasies. One of them I have zero desire to play, and the remake can go all the way to hell.
Okay, so I was on board with you for a long time, but Mikolov bought me the remake, and I've started dabbling in it, and damn if that game's not fun as fuck.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to play a game that was inspired by The Hobbit. You have
what?
Take a standalone thing and split it into 3.
Yes.
Oh, gotcha.
You have a 30-hour game, and not only you're going to make it 120 hours. Oh, by the way, all 3 games are full priced.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there, but I'm intrigued where they're going with the story, knowing some of the things that happen in the remake.
I'm fine with expanding the story, and if they decided this was all going to be one game, I mean, obviously this would have been like 200 gigabytes, but if they
might have been
probably more than that. But if they just did one game, full priced, I probably would give it a chance. But because it's going to be 3 full price games, no.
I think if they released a game that was an RPG that was pushing like 400 hours, people would complain. But in the same vein, those 3 people, or those people will play the 3 games.
And not complain.
Yeah.
The thing that's driving me nuts about it is where it's stretching across console generations.
Yes.
That's the kind of situation we're landing into.
And apparently, from what I understand, all the decisions you make in Remake have zero effect in Rebirth.
Oh, I think there's a lot of games that are like that.
But it's opposite Mass Effect. Mass Effect,
well,
your actions
all the Mass Effect ending gave you was a different color.
Hey.
When everything was said and done.
But your actions had consequences.
Yeah, you don't get the blue.
But your actions in Remake have zero consequences no matter what happens. So it's like, what's the point of playing it then? Because apparently a lot of people hate Midgar.
I don't know. I've had fun with it so far. It's been fun. It's made me want to eventually check out the second game, because that's where it really opens up to a lot of the rest of Final Fantasy with like the golden saucer and things like that. So, but yeah, Final Fantasy 9 is pretty sweet.
Dalton, what's your number 2?
Oh man, well you boys probably never saw this coming, but like my number 2 is Persona 5. It is man, where do I even start? Persona 5 is flashy as shit, right? Art style, everything. It's just flashy. And you load in and the music starts up and it's like almost like funky, jazzy in a way. And you're like, alrighty then. So you load into the game and you're playing and you get to your first battle. And now the 2 songs that I sent you boys, I specifically did not send you songs that are typically the one that everyone thinks of, which is that you never see it coming. That song, right? That's the battle theme. You hear that thousands of times throughout the game. Never once did I get tired of it.
I will.
And
go ahead.
No, I was going to say, to listen to a song with lyrics that much and it happening over and over and over, to never once get tired of it was impressive to me, because that's a long game.
I was just going to say, the songs that you did send us, I tried listening to them, but I wasn't feeling it. I know it's very particular style that it's not really something I usually listen to. So maybe that's probably something that had a lot to do with it.
No, that's totally understandable. I actually picked some of the sleeper hits in my opinion. So Beneath the Mask, the more chill one that I sent of the 2. It's kind of the girl singing along with the piano. That song plays when you have when it's like downtime at night or on rainy days. There's a version of that song on the soundtrack that has rain in the background of the song playing. And it's so good. So there's like 4 different versions of Beneath the Mask in the game. There's the one I sent you guys, the one with rain. There's an instrumental one. And then there's a version where you just hear rain and the girl singing Beneath the Mask. But there's no, all you hear is that doon, 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 doon. And that's the only music. And the rest of it's just her a cappella singing with the rain behind her and stuff. It's really, really pretty. That's more of the lull music. When things get hyped up, like the opening the opening theme of the song of the game is "Wake Up, Get Up, Get Out There," which is actually my alarm. When my alarm goes off in the morning, wake up, get out there. Do-do-do-do. There's horns and guitar playing, and it's so just funky. They brought in the chick who did the song for Persona 5 is like this really famous singer in Japan who I don't remember if she was a soul singer or something like that. So Persona's always kind of done that. Persona 3, they brought in a really famous Japanese punk female artist who did punk rock over there. And she did a lot of the vocals for that. Persona 4, they brought in a pop idol who did it. Which Persona 4, just a quick shout out to that, the song Signs of Love from Persona 4. Again, Jeff, probably not something you would necessarily listen to, but it's so catchy. And it's because it's just really well produced, and then they're bringing in people who know how to sing catchy things, right? So the girl's name is Lynn. Let me try to get this last name. Inaizumi, I think Lynn Inaizumi, Inaizumi.
I'll take your word for it.
Lynn Inaizumi, and Shoji Meguro, who is he's the composer. Persona 5 throughout the entire game is just banger after banger after banger when it comes to music. The other one I sent you guys is Rivers in the Desert. Now, let me try to remember where did Rivers in the Desert play? I believe it's during the section where you guys are, there's without spoiling too much, there's a palace that you go into that is in, the palace is in a big desert. You're going through a big pyramid. And the whole song is just building up as you're going through the dungeon. So, like in the beginning, just the drums, and she's like, "It's now or never," like that part's kind of just playing it as you're in the beginning of the dungeons and stuff. And as you're getting through, and action's starting to pick up, it's when it starts kicking in with that do 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 do, and all the horns and going. And it just takes you on a ride as you're going through it. You know what I mean? And it's like and it's basically the song is, we need to bring life back to this place. We need to cause the rivers in the desert. And that's what the whole song is about, fixing things that are wrong, which is a good over arc of the Persona 5 game, because you are going into people's hearts to change their inner soul, basically, to be a better person. That's what you do as the Phantom Thieves. But the other song that really jumps out, of course, like I said, everybody knows Last Surprise. But the boss theme, wow, what's the name of it? Life Will Change. So when you're after you send, so you go through the palace, you have to find the thing that you're looking for, their inner want or whatever. I don't remember the name of it right offhand, but you send them a calling card. And then once they get that calling card, it reveals what their inner want is. Then you go back and you steal it. And then when you go back in that final time, Life Will Change plays. And it is just such a fucking epic song. It's just so good, man. And I guess just me being a musician and everything, I really appreciate that they brought in, saxophones and trumpets and horns, a horn section. And they really give body to the songs. You know what I mean? It's not just it could have been just a dude and a guitar with some drums. You know what I mean? But it's like, no, they're gonna bring it all to this. And again, like I said, to have songs that you hear the lyrics of thousands of times while you're playing through this game and you never get tired of them, it's beautiful. Now, I will say, when they released Persona 5 Royal, they changed the battle theme. It's now another song that has lyrics, equally as catchy. I don't know if it's quite as good, but it's equally as catchy. I know Nate likes it more. So shout out to him. But I just can't get over enough the overall package of the style of Persona 5, how the music matches the look of the game so well, because everything is bright, vast, vibrant, in your face, and that's exactly the way the music is too. And it just rounds out into a really nice package, and the story is fucking incredible. It's just so good.
So I remember watching my brother play some of Persona 5 and thinking just everything about that game dripped style.
Yes. Even the fucking menus.
Yeah, I was actually thinking, like, even the fucking menus were just stylish in that game. And I've never played it. I actually borrowed it from him the other day before you sent me your list. He's got it for the PS3. I was going to copy it onto my hack one.
Mm-hmm.
And try to give it a shot at some point. Because, like, on paper, I really like the idea behind the Persona series. I've tried several times to pick up and actually play through Persona 4, and I always fall off super quick. I don't make it very far into it. I don't know why. I actually
having played both.
I did end up going through and watching the anime so I can get, like, the high beats of the story for 4. Really enjoyed it, but I would love to be able to wrangle my ADHD and actually play a Persona game.
They're long. They are long games. Persona 5, man. So having played both Persona 5 and Persona 4, we did 4 for the show back when it was me and Ryan. I prefer 5, and I know to some Persona fans that is absolute sacrilege, but I prefer 5, and I would even put 3 above 4 in my opinion. I had a good time with 4, but I can see why you would fall off, because it's very much, it came out on the Vita, and you can tell it came out on the Vita. Even with the port over to PC, it's still just a port of the Vita game. Now, granted, Persona 4 Golden is the reason I tried to hunt down a Vita for fucking years so I could play that specific game. But once I played it on PC, I was like, all right, this is pretty good. But Persona 5, I had already played Persona 5 at that point. Yeah, look at that.
Bought a Vita and hacked it. I probably paid more than I could have got one new.
But yeah, Persona 3, like, I know they thought they just got the remake recently, so, that might be easier for people to dive back into now than Persona 4 Golden is as far as looks go. But 5 holds up. There's a reason that they always do 2 versions. So there's a reason that there's Persona 5 Royal, Persona 5 Tactica, Persona 5 Strikers, which is the Dynasty Warriors style game in the Persona universe. Like, there's all kinds of spin-offs of Persona, like... Yeah, you just made that face. I know. When they announced it and it came out, and I was like, it's a hack and slash Persona game. And yeah, I own it, and I've played a little bit of it, and it's literally like you're just fighting waves of demons and you're just whipping their asses with your Persona. It's awesome.
Hmm.
But yeah, dude. So the fact that like I will just walk around my house being like, "You never see it coming." It's my ringtone on my phone when someone calls me. Persona 5 sits solidly at number 2 because it is just so good.
Oh, I did have a lot of fun with the tracks that you sent, even if Jeff didn't care for it. I was bopping.
What?
With
Something I like that Jeff shit on? Are you kidding? What? No,
it
that never happens.
It's a very rare occasion.
Well, he's gonna love number 1 WWE.
What?
So,
hey, I was saying that they will show up, just not at number 1.
So I guess before we hit number 1, do you guys want to do a couple of honorable mentions that didn't make the top 3?
Yeah, I'll just say mine quickly. Don't really need to explain them too much. One of them is Mass Effect, specifically. I think the first game.
That world map theme.
The world map, the galaxy map
good.
theme.
Yes.
Actually, I really love the title music, which actually is an overarching theme throughout the entire series.
Yeah, that is also just magnificent.
And my other pick is The Legend of Zelda: Twilight Princess. Now, I believe
the game that killed my game.
Koji Kondo at this point was beginning to step away from music, so I believe he may have been. I think he was there like an advisor, but I believe he didn't do a. If he did, he didn't do a lot. They got a couple other composers to do the soundtrack, but I think it's the best Zelda music. Just because it tries to be a more adult version of Ocarina of Time, so it uses more adult tones, if that makes sense, for that soundtrack.
Yeah, I remember that being vastly different from what I thought it was going to be when I rented it, and then it killed my GameCube.
Smash Brothers killed mine.
My GameCube still works, but I have a. I'll talk about it another day, but this is the reason why Mad Catz sucks. It's specifically
I can cuss Mad Catz for hours.
Well, we'll make an episode out of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those are my 2 honorable mentions.
Okay, so I have 2 that I want to talk about, and then I have some that I'm just going to throw out there, but just as a not a recommendation, but a recognition. WWE games have typically had really good soundtracks over the years. Some have introduced me some music that I still listen to this day. Madden has had some killer soundtracks over the years, introduced me to some stuff that I've heard that I still listen to this day. Need for Speed Underground 2 and Need for Speed Underground, fantastic. Midnight Club Dub Edition, fantastic. The Tony Hawk series, shout out to the Tony Hawk series for introducing me to a lot of punk rock.
If you hadn't,
that
I would have.
still love. Yeah, just Tony Hawk, those games are a staple. And even a little bit later into the skate games, like just skateboarding games in general, has just introduced me to so much good music. But the 2 that had this been a top 5 would have made my number 3 choice a little easier, because I could have been like, well, at least I can still. But honorable mentions is fine. 1, I mentioned it earlier, the Trails series. Trails in the Sky 1 and 2 had some of the best music I've ever heard in a JRPG, as far as just the way it was put together. I'm trying to remember the name of the song. I think it's called like A Cat on the Rooftop, that plays in one of the towns that you're in. It's just this acoustic piece, and it is just so pretty. And it's so, again, like Jeff, when you said it was like when you go into the town in 9 and there's that warm welcoming, it's the same kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like you can imagine over by the lighthouse in this little town, there's a guy sitting there with an acoustic that just carries on the wind, and you can hear him playing as you're roaming. You know, that's what I imagine in my head. Battle themes are super good. It's just very, very good. My other shout out is one that was real hard for me not to put in the top 3, and that is Yakuza. Specifically Yakuza 0, because of the song Rain that kicks in. It's just this like industrial metal song with this girl, Japanese girl singing, and it's right when Majima loses his mind and you got to fight your way up this tower, and you're crazy Majima now, and the song's just fucking raging and you're going and kicking some ass. It's great. But the Yakuza games have a lot to do with music and stuff, because you can go to karaoke bars and sing.
I lost so many hours in the karaoke bar on 0.
Dude, Breaking the law, breaking the world, Kawase, judgment. Yeah, it's so good, dude. Like, and then what's the other one? Baka Metai. It's the emotional song that you can sing and stuff. Like the music and everything about the story of Yakuza. Now, Jeff, I mentioned this earlier. I really think that you would enjoy it because of some of the things. Because you like sci-fi, and a lot of sci-fi sometimes is like the main. I'll use Star Trek as an example. Like they'll have episodes that are very, very serious, and then you'll get an episode that is just campy as all shit, and you'll giggle and laugh as you're watching it, right? Yakuza is styled the same way, where the main story is so dramatic and serious and has plot twists that you don't expect coming and turns and everything. Then you go do a side quest for a dude who's in his underwear, asking you like to find him the little call girl cards that they hand out and stuff that people drop him and he wants to collect them all. So that's one of the things you have to do. Or you go to the arcade and there's a kid who's like, I can beat your ass at Virtua Fighter. So then you're playing legitimately playing Virtua Fighter 2 and things like there's just so much little random shit that you can do that's so wacky that gives you levity in the hard mode.
Here's the thing. You're probably right. I would enjoy Yakuza, specifically 0. But here's the thing. I love pissing you off. I love pissing off Willie and Nate, and just be like, man, Yakuza can go to hell. And I know deep down,
really piss them off?
All of you are just like, you son of a bitch.
What would really piss them off is if we do it for the show, and you talk about how you're so glad that I finally talked you into it, and you wish that they would have tried.
Yeah, Dalton. Why didn't you try hard enough?
Motherfuckers. You motherfuckers. Like, yeah, that's what we're currently our long game for the show at the moment. We're doing Yakuza 5 and I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
I actually saw Nate's name pop up earlier saying he's playing the remaster.
Yeah, and I want to go ahead and give him a shout out because the message he sent is LMAO Yakuza 5 opened in the most insane resolution I've ever seen. Because it's an older game, so it'll open up, it's like I'll open up a GOG game and all of a sudden everything on my second monitor is just gone. All right, I guess once I fix the resolution, then I usually can't see shit in the GOG game because it's old and doesn't know how to scale up, but my stuff on my second monitor comes back. But yeah, those are my honorable mentions.
So, my honorable mentions. Doom Eternal. Because that fucking soundtrack. And I hate that the shit went down between id and Bethesda with Mick Gordon, and that the official release soundtrack is so mangled, because the shit that Mick Gordon wrote is just fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, having read into that when you guys mentioned it, that was a messy situation all around.
Oh yeah.
Just, ugh.
Which I can understand him not wanting to work with them anymore after the shit that went down. I do not fault the dude, but like the music for the DLC, while the dude that they got did a great job, it is not the same. And I do worry about the new upcoming Doom game without having the fucking awesome shit that Mick Gordon does, because that dude was taking a fucking chainsaw and running it through synths to create guitar tracks with. Who looks at a fucking lawnmower and a chainsaw and goes, I can make music with that, and then makes killer fucking music with that.
Pretty wild, right?
But the Doom Eternal soundtrack, and Kana's gonna love this one, Doki Doki Literature Club.
Oh yeah, dude.
I'm well aware there is precisely one song in that game, but he warped and twisted the different versions of that song over the course of the game. And then the payoff with it at the credits, when you finally get a vocal track for it, was just like, chef's kiss. I've listened to that song tons of times in isolation.
Dane just sitting alone in a closet with headphones.
Just
Monica.
Just Monica.
Just Monica. Just Monica.
Yuri's best girl.
Yuri is best girl.
And I was very predisposed to Yuri. You can blame Dave on your own tadpog, because I listened to their episode on it before I ever actually played Doki Doki. And the line that lives in my head rent-free is when they were talking about playing through the game and the scene where you cut your finger and Yuri sticks your bleeding fingertip in her mouth. And Dave describes like, oh, this is where I'll overlook it.
Hot. Yeah, I remember listening to that episode, and then I watched the Game Grumps do their, I think it was like 30 episodes of this before I finally played Doki Doki.
I love seeing people's, like, or hearing about people's first time reaction to playing that game.
That is the only game that I've actually watched someone do a full Let's Play on from start to finish. I watched, he is a pipe tobacco reviewer on YouTube, Stuff and Things. He did a playthrough of Doki Doki. And unlike me, he didn't follow the Yuri route. He did the...
Nakasuki? Or Natsuki?
Yeah, Natsuki. The one that's flat and mean.
Natsuki.
Yeah,
Natsuki.
So I never did that route, so getting to see the chunks of story that I missed when I played.
Ooh, yeah, that's a rough story too.
Yeah.
I'll quick recommends, if you dig Doki Doki, check out, I think it's called Cooking Companions or Cooking with Companions. Let me double check on Steam real quick. But the other one, while I'm double checking this one, I somehow ended up in my library, but Needy Streamer Overload. Needy Streamer Overload is a wild concept for a game, and it gives me very Doki Doki Literature Club vibes. But yeah, this other one, Cooking Companions. It is a visual novel. Without giving too much away, it is very Doki Doki-esque, and I will leave it at that. But it is very, it's a good ass game. I recommend it.
I think the Needy Streamer Overload was inadvertently mine and Kana's fault, because where I speed ran all the Sakura games to ask my way to the top of the leaderboard for Backlog Golf, it fucked up all my Steam recommends, and that was one of the things that popped up. And I screenshot it and I put it in the Discord and kind of said, hey, I've heard that one's a really good one, you know, kind of like Doki Doki. So that might have been how it wound up, because I think it grabbed your attention.
I think I might have been the one that said it was like Doki Doki, because I had kind of read into it. But I think when I ended up getting it, I think I had gotten a mystery key bundle from Fanatical, and that was one of the mystery games that I got was Needy Streamer Overload. Because every now and then I get a game that's worth a shit in those bundles.
That's why you keep going back.
Yeah, I know they're like, they trickle them in. They say that you can win like $1,000 worth of AAA games randomly by getting some of those bundles, but I'm wondering if that ever actually happens to people or if they just advertise it.
Well, I mean, you know, if it's completely random, it could happen.
But
in theory.
Just like I could win the lottery.
But like the Tootsie Roll, the world may never know.
Pop, Tootsie Pop, Jeff. Get your shit together. You're a fucking professional.
Yeah, I have to say, if Dalton found an error.
Wow.
It is a
live Dalton found an error. Actually, no.
That commercial's... I was gonna say, that commercial was old as shit, because I have VHSs where my parents recorded the Beatles movies on the TV back in the day. And even like back, you know, whenever that was in the 90s, like they were showing old... You can go and find those commercials from like the 60s, and it's like, how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? I don't know. Let's ask this owl. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, crunch. 3. It takes 3. And the little kid's like, the world may never know.
I had something similar for Back to the Future Part 3, where it was beef. It's what's for dinner. Dun, dun, dun.
It's what's for dinner. Dun, dun. I love on YouTube, there's a channel that has 12-hour blocks of just X-Play, but they recorded it straight from G4. So, like, it has commercials and everything. And the nostalgia that I feel when, like, a fucking Fruit Gushers commercial from years ago comes on, and all of them have fruit heads, and they're all like, yeah. Body horror at its finest.
Man, I'd forgot that. So, I still think back to, remember the Got Milk campaign?
Sure.
Which one?
All of them.
The one where the dude had the mouthful of peanut butter and knew the answer to this weird radio trivia question. He was trying to answer it.
And he couldn't.
And it was like, got milk. Do you know who shot that commercial?
Michael Bay.
He just died.
No. Michael Bay.
No.
Really? That's amazing. The Got Milk commercial I remember was a kid in a factory, and he was talking about how milk was best for eating cookies and stuff with it, and he was like, I tried eating a brownie with a glass of water. It was awful. Yeah, Jeff, you remember the commercial I'm talking about. I'm like, motherfucker, you dunked a brownie in water. Of course it was terrible.
The kid became a tester for roller coasters. And his little brother, I think, became the brownie tester. And he just see him, he's like all depressed, just like with all the brownies going past and the glass of water. It's just like, yeah, I feel you. And
they give him milk and it fixes everything.
Here's the thing. My daughter does weird shit like that. She dunks all foods into all liquids just to see how it'll be. Her favorite thing I have seen her dunk carrots into sweet tea.
All right, sweet into sweet.
Like French fry and a Frosty makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I grew up with that one. No. French fries into Mountain Dew.
Interesting.
And I'm not here
Citrusy
to judge
potatoes.
because when I was a kid, I remember watching that fucking Fred Savage movie with Howie Mandel, Little Monsters. Y'all remember that movie?
Yes.
I know the name.
And in that movie, he took peanut butter and onion sandwiches to school with him for lunch. I tried that. Surprisingly not terrible. So I'm not here to judge on it. But there's a certain point where I'm like, girl, stop dunking everything in everything. They're not all going to be winners, and now you've just got a bunch of salt in your soda.
Yeah.
Salt and
my
grease.
grandma turned me on to, putting peanuts in your Coke bottle. Like, I don't mind that. I think that's pretty good. I haven't done it in years, but something my grandma did when I was growing up, I've never tried it. She would always make me a banana and peanut butter sandwich.
I tried that once.
Right? Everybody's had banana and peanut butter. She liked banana and mayonnaise sandwiches. So she would put a little bit of mayonnaise on each bread. Not a lot, but enough to wet it. And then she would put banana on it, and that's what she would eat.
My mom does that.
It's a southern thing.
Yeah.
It must be.
She ate it growing up in North Carolina. So.
And my grandpa, much like another shout out to Tadpog, Tyler's dad would do the whole glass of milk and just fill it full of cornbread and eat that.
White bread.
That was one of my... Huh?
It was white bread.
Was
for
his
him.
was white bread?
Yeah.
All right. My grandpa would do it with cornbread.
I can see how that would be all right. I mean, it would be mushy and weird, but I can see how it would taste all right, though. Because milk's a little sweet, so it would add a little sweetness to the... And if you're using sweet cornbread already, then it's kind of just a creamy pudding. It's almost like a bread pudding in a way. Still don't know if texturally I would be on board with it, but it might taste all right.
I've seen my mom do it a few times, and it's usually when she's, I think, feeling like nostalgia, thinking back to when she was younger.
Yeah.
But like, there was a huge generational gap between my grandparents and my mom, because my mom is technically Gen X, but her parents were before the boomers. My grandma thought she had a tumor and was postmenopausal when she got pregnant with my mom.
Oh,
so
wow.
she went to the
yeah,
doctor, swelling up, thinking that she had a tumor and she was dying. She's, Doc, how much longer have I got? I'd say about 3 months. And, blood drains out of her face. She's like, that short? I'm like, yep, looks like it's going to be a girl.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, that's quite the shock, right?
I think my grandma was like 45 years old when she had my mom.
I bet your grandpa gave his balls a pat. Still got it, boy. Still got it.
Well, they both, one threw out their back and the other hurt their leg right at the beginning of winter. So they were indoors and injured, so all they could do was lay in bed and they didn't have any fucking thing else to do. So they made my mom.
Fair enough. Hey, that's fair.
I'm just like, man, getting on it with a thrown out back, go pappy.
Right? She's got a hurt leg, so it's going to be hard for her to get on top. You got to throw it out back. Are we doing this Mormon style? We just soak it until we spurt, or what are we doing?
I don't want to think about it too much, to be honest.
Yeah, that's fair. We'll drop it.
So number one, who wants to go first?
All right. So to keep with the pattern, we'll have to let Dalton go first so you can get the big finish, Jeff. I want you to have it.
Thanks.
So Jeff, Dalton, what's your number one?
Other Jeff. All right, so I was really thinking hard about it, and I'm like, what is the soundtrack that has stuck with me the most over the years? And my brain just kept coming back to it to the point that I was like, well, that has to be my answer, because I can't think of anything else that really just moved me in a way that I still think about it to this day, even when I'm not playing the game. Like, the songs will just pop into my head. I will be playing guitar, and all of a sudden I realize that like a melody that I'm playing that I'm just thinking I'm coming up with is probably something that I heard in this game. And we already talked about him, but Nobuo Uematsu is just a musical master. And I think that he really shined in this game. Even though he thinks that 9 is his magnum opus, I would say that Final Fantasy VIII is a very close second, in my opinion. Suck my dick, Final Fantasy VII lovers. 7's soundtrack is probably third or fourth, because 10 soundtrack's pretty good and 12 had a pretty banging soundtrack. Fight me. But from the very beginning of 8, when that first cinematic starts playing, I had never played 7 at this point. My first game was Final Fantasy VIII. My friends had Final Fantasy VII. They always talked about how good it was, but I had never seen the beginning of Final Fantasy VII. But 8 starts out with a just straight up CG cinematic, and you start hearing those very, very famous Latin phrases. Nilos notes. And then Libre Fatale starts playing. And that song is just so fucking epic. And while everything that's going on in the cutscene, you know, with the Squall battling Cypher, and then it's doing cuts to the future, and you're seeing things that are going to happen throughout the game, all that are happening between them while they're having this battle, and the song is just playing, and it builds up, and it builds up, and builds up, and it crescendos with that moment that Squall had been sliced across the face, and he goes back, and he slices up Cypher's face, and it cuts the screen, and feathers go everywhere. As Final Fantasy VIII comes up, and you're like, holy shit. And then the next song that you hear is the first song that I sent you guys, which is the Balam Garden theme, which is such a peaceful song. Dude, when I am really worked up and I just want to calm down, I just want to feel chill, I will go put on the Balam Garden theme, because it's just so peaceful and nostalgic for me. Other song I sent you guys, because the battle theme from 8 is really good. There's a lot of songs in 8 that are really good. There's a couple different songs that kind of play off Libre Fatale. They use the same lyrics, but it's a different. So the other song that I sent, and man, my fucking audio is looking real weird. I'll fix it in post. The last thing that I sent you guys was the theme from when you're playing as Laguna, and that is the man. Is it Man with the Gun?
Machine gun.
Man with the Machine Gun. Yeah, Man with the Machine Gun.
Just the way that game or that song kind of plays out, it's just such a good beat, and I've heard it remixed so many times. It is just chef's kiss. And I mean, I think that this is at my number one strictly due to nostalgia, probably because, you know, it being my first Final Fantasy game that I really, really enjoyed. But I can't say enough. I could sit here I don't want to take up too much time. I know we've been going a while. I can literally sit here for hours and talk about how much I love that game and why I love it. And a big part of that is just the way that the music adds to literally every scene. It's wonderful.
See, I was really glad when you threw Final Fantasy VIII in there, because I really enjoyed the song that I forget the girl's name, but Laguna's love interest. The song that she
Julia.
Yeah. The song that she played that I think they used for the like ending portion of the story, Eyes on Me.
Yes. Yeah.
That was a beautiful song and a wonderful thing to kind of cap off everything that happened. And I think, didn't Uematsu get like either nominations or actual awards for that song outside of the game industry?
I do believe so. I think it became a big hit in Japan in general.
I mean, I know I've listened to some songs from Final Fantasy VIII on Pandora. This video game music channel I listen to, it pops up randomly. I don't know. I can't remember a lot of the music, but I always do remember the man with the machine gun. That I always that one I can always just do like a little head bob with, because it's fun. It's very I'm not sure if jaunty is the correct word to describe it, but it's very it's groovy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a good groove to it. Yeah, I love when people decide to remix it and like add it into stuff. It's real fun.
When I was listening to the Ballum theme that you sent, dude, nostalgia kicked in on me, and it took me back, and I could see it in my head, walking around Ballum Garden that first time after that opening intro that you talked about.
And it's so pretty. And coming from 7, if you were used to the chibi style characters, and then you go into 8 and they're all like normal looking humans, it was like, whoa. But for me, that was just Final Fantasy to me, which was why going back to 7, I was like, why the fuck do they look so weird?
Well, in their defense, they did start development for 7 on the Nintendo 64.
Fair enough. That could have been Quest 3D.
Good pick. Dane, what's your number 1?
So, yeah, how I said, my big qualifier was soundtracks that elevated an already amazing game well beyond just that little extra something. So, my number 1 pick, I will argue, is definitely a once-in-a-lifetime game. I was very surprised by how much I truly love this game. And it holds a distinction. It is not the very first game to ever make me cry, nor do I think it will be the last. But it is the first time that I have cried at the ending credits of a video game. And the song that I sent you plays during the final boss battle of this game, which is the ending credits. Which is a weird thought, right? And that is Nier Automata.
Yeah. Talking about the true ending?
Yeah. And this sequence...
Yeah, dude.
was so impactful on me. I actually, I went through all of our song lists today while I was working. I listened to y'all's on my way out, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to refresh myself and listen to my songs that I sent them to. And listening to that song now almost, a year and a half removed from the last time that I actually played through that entire game, it still makes me tear up. And the reason for this entire sequence that this song plays, which the entire soundtrack works great, and some of the things that they did with it is super interesting. Like Toyotaro, whenever he commissioned the soundtrack, made a bunch of the songs that have lyrics. What he told the lady to do was essentially create a made-up language that is what, Eastern European songs that are languages, Western European languages, English, Japanese, what these would sound like 1,000 years into the future after these languages have morphed and kind of transformed to the point where it's no longer discernible as the original language, but kind of sounds like it. Like, I think, Dalton, I think it was you, posted a video on Discord of an Italian musician who made a gibberish English song, because he said that if it was English, it would be a number 1 hit, even if people just thought it was English and it wasn't actually English.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Like making something that sounds kind of like it, but it's not anymore. But this ending credits, the final boss battle, is a bullet hell where you are shooting down the names of the people who developed the game. And it has this song, and the song that I sent y'all kind of goes through different stages. It starts off as this kind of, retro MIDI style kind of instrumental track, and then slowly introduces the real instruments, the real vocals, and then eventually builds up to this big chorus. As you're playing through this bullet hell, it's a one-hit kill. You fuck up once, you're dead. And every time you die, it's still playing that song. It pops up a little menu, and it's trying to get you to give up. Do you want to continue? It's hopeless. And you see little messages from other people who have beat the game before you, giving you encouragement. So the game is telling you it's pointless, stop trying, and you see all these people popping up. You can do it. We're all with you. And you say, yes, I want to keep going. And then it adds in another layer of the song. It keeps building. You go further this time, you die again. the game's trying to get you to quit again. You get more and more messages, sometimes in Japanese. You don't know what they said, but you know that they were rooting you on. And then after you die so many times and you've been just beating your head against the wall of this massive bullet hell, when you get to the last stretch, it's almost impossible. And you're ready to give up, that's when the moment hits where it asks, do you want help? Other people are coming to help you. And then the next scene after you jump back into it, that's when that big just choir of people in the song kicks in. And you get this big swell of emotion timed in with that, and you've got super powered attacks. You've got this flight of ships surrounding you that are acting as guards for whenever you mess up and get hit, and adding their firepower to yours. And every time you see one of them hit, you'll see a little message, this name, this thing, data deleted. And after finally beating it, the game gives you the prompt. You needed help to defeat this. Do you want to help somebody else the way you needed help? And of course you're like, yeah, because this was impossible for you. And the game tells you, if you want to do that, you have to delete your save file. You won't know who it helps. It might not even be somebody that you would like. Do you still want to do it? And I had such a big swell of emotion from all this, I deleted my 100% save file for Nier Automata that I sunk over 60 hours into. Twice. Only time I've ever cried to the credits of a game was just that sequence. It is really, really powerful.
Yeah, I would agree that it very much so is. It's one of those, oh, shit moments.
And, people talk about picking the good route in a game or the bad route, feeling like you're doing good because you're doing something here and there. That is the only time that it steps out of a game and you actually have a real-life choice to do good or not. And it was just a big moment for that game. And just the entirety of the game is really deep and introspective, but it never loses sight of the fact that it is a game. And just the soundtrack bleeds through and adds so much kind of like, this is a dead world. And it complements it really well. And that's my number one pick, man.
I can't point.
No, that sounds
not the slightest
very nice.
So the man of the hour.
Too sweet to be sour. Oh, yeah.
Jeff, what's your number one, man?
Well, this game came out a few years ago. And when I first started playing it, it didn't hit me at first. This game was extremely popular, but I bounced off it. And I never touched it again for about another year. Well, year later, I get back into this game. And I'm trying to dissect this game. It's like, people love this game and still do. What about it that people love about this game that made me bounce off it the first time? So, I get into it. First thing I'm paying attention to is the house you're in has this very nice calming guitar. It's like, oh, okay. This is quite lovely. I'm enjoying this. Then the next thing I discover is the wonderful conversations you have with the characters. Now we get into the combat and how there are basically two different versions for every soul in this game. You've got the minion battle themes. Then when you get to the bosses, there are 4 bosses in this game, and they turn to metal. And it's just like, holy shit. Hades, you're nailing it.
Hades.
Awesome fucking pick.
It's a great game. Not one that I would think about for music, but now that you're mentioning it, yeah. It is quite good.
I mean, most of the music in this game, they apparently use traditional instruments, Greek, Mediterranean traditional instruments.
Like lutes and shit.
Well, according to Wikipedia, they're using instruments like... Hold on, I lost it. They're using instruments, I am not going to be able to pronounce this, but it's called a Greek bouzouki, which is supposed to be just like a Greek guitar, or maybe like a string instrument. Maybe it's a lute, I don't know. but they're a lot of the music they're using that like soft acoustic style music. But then once you start getting into battle, all of a sudden they start throwing in some percussion, and the acoustics start becoming a little heavier. Well, now all of a sudden, when you start fighting the bosses like the Fury Sisters or Hades themselves, all of a sudden that heavy acoustic or heavier acoustic immediately switches to metal, and it's hard metal. The two that immediately come to mind are my favorite song, which is the one I sent you. It's called Cain and the Bull, and that's when you're fighting the champion and the Minotaur in the realm Elysium.
Is it Theseus?
Theseus and Asterius.
Yeah.
And the other one, it's I didn't send it to you guys, but it's something you guys need to look up. Hades' battle music is some of the best metal I have ever listened to. And Dalton, you're a man of metal. Okay. I know you for a fact that you would appreciate it. But then there are on occasion, after you're killed and you're sent back to the House of Hades, one of the characters, Orpheus, who is the house musician, who has a few he's singing 2 songs in the game. One of them I believe is called like the Lament of Zagreus. The other one I can't remember the song. But at the very end, well, at least when you do 10 complete run through of the game, complete run through of the trying to escape the underworld, all of a sudden you are just returning in a boat on the river Styx, just going back to the House of Hades with your mother. Spoilers. And you are getting this beautiful duet between the actor who plays Orpheus and another voice actress / singer named Ashley Barrett, and it's called In the Blood. That might be one of the most beautiful songs I've ever listened to, and the voices, them, just a beautiful mesh.
Although I do have to say, Orpheus has got to be the biggest dumbass in Greek myth.
And they certainly portray it in the game. All the stuff.
You can take her with you back out of the underworld, but you can't turn around and look at her until you're out. All right, looks over. You ready to go, honey? What did I just say? Oh no, that doesn't count. That doesn't count. Okay, don't look at her. All right, I won't look at her anymore. And you mean don't look at her like this, right? Sorry.
It's funny because that's what's brilliant about the game. They take all these mythologies that we know of all these characters: Zeus, Poseidon, Hades. Oh my God, who was the warrior that died at Troy? Achilles, thank you.
His lesser-known cousin, who was also at the battle. Both of these. Well, you know how Achilles was dipped into the river Styx by his ankle?
Yes.
And that's how he had the Achilles heel?
Yes.
All right, well, his cousin was dipped in there too, but they held him by his groin. So everyone knows about the Achilles heel, but most people don't know about both of these nuts.
Jeff, you walked so perfectly into that.
I
tried so hard not to laugh so Dane could get it out.
Well, you were talking about, I think, what's the guy's name? His, supposedly it says it's his cousin. Was it Patroclus? But in reality, according to mythology, they were lovers.
Oh, no. I said both of these. His cousin was both of these. His lover was Patroclus.
That's it.
I was trying to slip it in and keep it going before you caught on to what I was up to there.
Yeah, you kept going, so well done. But yeah, it's
tremendous.
This is by far the best soundtrack I've ever listened to, just because in recent years I've really gotten into metal, and this soundtrack really drives that love for it. And
Now, here is the sad thing about it, though. So during the tail end of development was when the pandemic hit and everything went into quarantine. So they were all working from home during the last stretch of the development after early access. Their office got broken into. And a bunch of those classical instruments that they had that they recorded that soundtrack with were stolen.
Yep.
People suck.
Crying shame, man.
It is. But this is a soundtrack everyone needs to listen to. I listen to it very often because it's only 2.5 hours long.
See, we can be friends. I am also somebody who says, it's only 2.5 hours.
Says the man who also watched it. How many hours was that fucking Beverly Hillbillies video I sent you? Was that the 24-hour one?
I think it was 24 hours, yeah. And I have since watched Josh Strife Hayes on his Twitch. He'll upload his Twitch streams, and then he'll put them all into one long thing. So, like, if you want to go watch him play Morrowind, it's like 70 hours. I've watched that over the course of days, you know. So, you know.
But yeah, that's my top 3. That's all our top 3s. I think we created a very good list.
Yeah, this will be quite the eclectic playlist.
So here's the thing that I observed when I was looking through our lists that I thought was really interesting. You look at my list, and it's 3 character action games that are, by and large, 2 of the 3 are very hard rock, heavy metal-esque. You got Dalton, who all of his are JRPGs, but, the musical stylings are varied. And then Jeff's picks are just all over the place.
I'm
not bound to one genre, sir.
Well, I'm not bound to one genre, but I definitely do have a favorite.
I'm still very surprised that Hades came in over Final Fantasy IX.
Because I told you, in recent years, I've really gotten into metal. And don't get me wrong, there are some hard-hitting songs in Final Fantasy.
Sir, have you ever heard of a band called the Black Mages?
Yes.
Because they do metal versions of Final Fantasy songs. You should check them out. They go pretty hard.
I'll definitely
and
give
like
them
I said,
list.
Uematsu stuff translates well.
They do.
Like the hard rock version of One Wing Angel, to me, is almost the definitive version of it at this point. Even if Advent Children was, a very hit and miss film, I still love 7. I know that's the one everybody fanboys over the hardest because that was the one that got them into RPGs. Well, it was the one that got me into it.
Yeah, so it's okay because you fall into that category.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, I think that about wraps it up.
Wieners for all.
Well, we've got a big project planned for the next episode, so we're kind of going past the quiz again this week. So, Jeff, you and me talked, and we had a little idea about doing a double feature next time.
This is correct.
And do you want to tell everybody what double feature idea we came up with?
Why don't you describe it, because you'll probably do a lot better job than I ever will.
So, talking about we don't get enough video game content in this. We've been largely a movie podcast up to this point, and we've been trying to mix it up. Well, let's start getting cross-genre with it. And what I want to do is a double feature where me and Jeff are going to bring our personal picks for what is the best video game movie. The best video game movie.
Right.
And we're both going to watch each other's picks, and we're going to argue it out. Dalton, if you want to pitch in, you can make it a triple feature. That's your call.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the invite, but that's your pick.
I will consider that, my good sir.
And I know me and Jeff, we've been hinting with one another about what our picks are. We're going to keep it a secret until we actually do the episode, so you know the theme. This is going to be a double feature, best video game movie. You got to tune in if you want to find out what we picked. But based on the discussions, I know that there are going to be some people who object to at least one of, if not both of our selections.
Do we want to talk about what we have planned in the future? Or should we save that for next episode?
Oh, we can drop a teaser for next month. So, December we did a theme month. We did Cage Fest, where we dedicated all the episodes to the ever enigmatic Nicolas Cage. Well, March is going to also be a theme month, and we're going to do Russell Fest, where it's going to be all Kurt Russell films.
Okay.
Not as in we're doing all of them in 1 month, but
I was thinking maybe Marky March.
No. It's like, it's Kurt. I just watched the Kurt Russell movie. Oh, it's his birthday. Or actually, I think what started is I had just watched The Thing, and Dane was just like, I really want to talk about that movie one day. It's like, well, we got to save it, but I definitely want to talk more Kurt Russell.
I mean, he's one of the inspirations for Solid Snake because of Snake in Escape from New York and L.A.
Yep.
In fact, there's a scene in Metal Gear Solid 2 where they said, "What's your name?" And Snake doesn't want to tell him that his name is Snake, so he says, "Plissken, Iroquois Plissken."
And his character name in the movie is Snake Plissken.
Snake Plissken. Beautiful.
So we're going to have to narrow it down and figure out which Kurt Russell films that we're going to be covering next March, but you got that to look forward to.
Yeah, I'm deciding hard between two movies, but they're in the same genre. I'm not going to say it. It's a surprise.
So, Dalton, dude, thank you for hanging out.
Anytime, man. This is fun as hell every time.
You want to give a shout out to the places you can be found real fast?
Yeah, you can find me in the Steam Machine Discord, which is bit.ly/TSMP Discord, all capital letters. Other than that, you can find me over on the Steam Machine Podcast, a bi-weekly PC gaming show where me and my buddies talk about games in our backlog. And right now, we are playing a long game, so we're doing Yakuza 5, so we're going to have a short game in the middle, which is going to be one of my favorite games of all time, which is The Unfinished Swan. Other than that, you can find me and this douchebag right here, Dane, on a show called Grumpy Jeff, as him. Grumpy Jeff's Pro Wrestling Power Hour. And that's where once a month, yeah, that's why we call him Grumpy Jeff. Once a month, we talk about some wrestling that comes on. We talk about what's been happening on Raw, on Netflix throughout the month. But then we also have a main event, and I announced it in the Discord, but I'll say it again here. Our next main event is the epic tag team rivalry that started with a ladder match between Edge and Christian, the Dudley Boys, and the Hardy Boys, and that evolved into the evolution or in the creation of the TLC match: tables, ladders, and chairs. And there were 3 major TLC matches, so we will be checking out those 4 matches. That is going to be the main event.
Which I got to finish watching those. Off to a good start.
No rush. We got time. We got 9 days before we need to actually record, so
well,
we'll get it worked out.
Well, I think that does it for this episode. So if you made it this far, you're awesome. We love you. Thank you so much for listening. I've been Mr. Puzzles. He's been Grumpy Jeff. That down there has been Steam Machine Dalton. You've been our audience. Thanks for listening to this week's Big Steamy Media Dump. Jeff, you got anything you want to leave the audience on?
Music.
Our theme song is Moonpath by Nile The Nightmare. You can find a link to that track as well as his full discography in the show notes or by visiting nilethenightmare.bandcamp.com. Want to hang out with us and a bunch of other entertaining degenerates? Join us on Discord at bit.ly/TSMP Discord, all caps. Enjoy the show, rate us where you're at, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next one.
I wasn't on that episode, but I wanted to tell you that I don't know if it was from the bit y'all were talking about, but I've talked about it many places before, but my favorite Carlin bit is where he's talking about they should do like a contest to see who's the biggest, baddest, most mean motherfucker in the whole world and have them all fight to the death. and just make it this big world spectacle like the Olympics. And finally, when there's one guy left standing tall, and he's the biggest and the baddest and the meanest motherfucker on the entire planet, we hang the gold medal over him, we're doing the celebration, and someone walks up behind him and shoots him in the back of the fucking head. And we don't ever have to worry about people that are like that ever again.